In a chaotic space, a swarm of grotesque-looking creatures frantically lunged forward to demolish everything blocking their path. Their rampage was abruptly brought to an end by the swift and decisive attack of Kim Jinwoo, an earth-born archmage summoned to this perilous place, exposing his uncompromising nature. Seeing himself surrounded, he immediately put on a solemn expression. Finally, unable to hold it in anymore, he let out a sigh full of weariness. Kim Jinwoo cast a protective barrier behind his castle so he could calmly face the filthy monsters and this detestable destructive encroachment head-on. In this place, the planet Arsalan was slowly yet surely being swallowed up as the encroachment gnawed at the ground and edged closer. It was no exaggeration to say that about 90% of Arsalan's territory had been devastated by the encroachment. Thanks to the magic boundary developed by Kim Jinwoo, only a few surviving kingdoms were struggling to maintain their existence. The energy source of the magic boundary, the pure magic stones, was gradually running out, so it wouldn't be able to hold on much longer, at most about 3 years. The day the boundary vanished, Arsalan would inevitably perish, the temporarily halted encroachment would resume, and countless monsters would slaughter the remaining lives. That hard-to-swallow truth left Kim Jinwoo bitterly thinking to himself that it was so difficult to be summoned to an alternate world, only for the end result to be destruction. Suddenly, Tiras unexpectedly appeared from behind him to speak seriously as the master of the magic tower and the immortal archmage. Lord Kim Jinwoo, the glorious Lord of Rainsword. He had no desire to listen to those meaningless words and cleared his throat to interrupt immediately. Drop those fancy titles. The world has already come to this, what good are those things for any more? Tiras obediently nodded and gently replied, "Yes, master, I have told you many times facing the encroachment directly outside is very dangerous." The other party's concern didn't make Kim Jinwoo happy. Instead, he openly expressed his dissatisfaction. "You start nagging the moment you arrive, what's going on?" She paid no mind to his attitude and calmly answered his question. "The summoning order has been issued, and even someone in seclusion like you has been called upon, so it seems the situation is extremely serious." Kim Jinwoo looked at the monsters blocked outside the spatial ring and heavily let out a long sigh. "I suppose so, but I don't have any special way either." Hearing her master's innermost thoughts, Tiras spoke up frankly. "Even so, the only one who can move freely within the encroached land is master, so they must be very desperate." The brief conversation, packed with vital information, plunged Kim Jinwoo into near-instantaneous silence as the native residents of Arsalan couldn't last long in the encroached land. No matter how powerful one was, even the soul would be shaken inside there, but only he was unaffected by the encroachment. That's right, only someone from another world like him. His soul was different from the people of Arsalan, unaffected by the encroachment, and even capable of converting the encroaching power into soul power to become even stronger. After a quick flashback, Kim Jinwoo suddenly regained his senses to voice a question. "What can I do alone? Unless there's an army of 1,000,000, maybe?" Anticipating this question, Tiras immediately replied, "Aside from Master, if anyone else is unaffected by the encroachment, it could only be the legendary hero. So this time, let them know I'm not participating either." He looked into the chaotic space outside the protective ring and replied heavily, "Yeah." As Tiras turned to leave, she suddenly remembered something to remind the other party. "Don't push yourself just because you think you can simply get a new body and resurrect if you die. If you go outside the encroached boundary region again, next time I'll remodel your new body into a pretty boy. A pretty girl doesn't sound too bad either, you know." That seemingly casual remark gave Kim Jinwoo total goosebumps. "Your taste is really." Unfortunately, the rest of his words were quickly cut short by Tiras's final reminder before she left. "Anyway, please get some good rest." Having his private space back caused Kim Jinwoo to grumble angrily in his head about all sorts of things, from being pumped with Americano on Earth to work relentless overtime, to building the magic tower in Arsalan to fight a fierce battle against the encroachment. Come to think of it, he had never once gotten a proper rest. This barrier would also shatter in 3 years due to depleted magic stones, and then the world would perish. Such a relatively heavy train of thought made Kim Jinwoo despondently exhale a long sigh. "Now I just want to drop everything and rest." Suddenly, out of the dark sky, a series of strange rays of light unexpectedly fell down. For some reason, they gathered in one place right on Kim Jinwoo's hand, startling the master himself. "What is this light?" Before he could figure out what was happening, the the strange energy gathering in Kim Jinwoo's hand released itself on its own to create a gigantic pillar of light that enveloped his entire body. Kim Jinwoo clearly heard the sound of earth and stone shattering around him, yet he couldn't help but be stunned by the situation he was facing. He looked in confusion at the strange energy surrounding him while his brain was busy wandering. I can feel the power of an absolute authority. My soul has awakened into a transcendent being. Even after struggling for decades without being able to achieve it, is it only when you let go of all distracting thoughts that you can touch it? As if to prove that very thought, Kim Jinwoo quickly reached his hand forward in a rare moment of suspense. Well then, let's see. Unexpectedly, without needing to exert much effort, he was able to create a dark soul gate. Or to put it bluntly, a transcendental soul gate. A gate connecting to the soul's homeland that could be maintained continuously and crossed in soul form. For some reason, Kim Jinwoo's soul suddenly left his body while he remained focused only on the new information appearing before his eyes. A soul gate that can be crossed in soul form. Just as the final piece of information about the soul gate revealed itself, magic could be cast through the soul gate, and matter could be moved according to the gate's size. Kim Jinwoo quickly threw himself into the gate right after absorbing everything necessary. Let's just go try it out first. The moment he vanished from this world, a miraculous light emanated from the soul gate. Who knew how much time passed before Kim Jinwoo slowly opened his eyes, only to realize he had just been teleported to Earth. He cast his gaze across his entire surrounding, before slowly whispering to himself, "Has it really been 100 years? It had been 100 years since his return, but there seemed to be no time discrepancy compared to when he fell into the alternate world. Even the smartphone lineups weren't much different from back then. Were dimensions completely severed, or had he traveled back in time? That thought made Kim Jinwoo rush off, flying toward somewhere. If so, then my home. Sadly, his hopes quickly shattered when Kim Jinwoo saw the unfamiliar sight before his eyes. A depressed feeling quickly welled up, making him forget even to breathe. An unfamiliar building, it really is gone after all. Perhaps the existence named Kim Jinwoo has vanished completely, my traces wiped away, leaving nothing behind. Thinking about it is kind of sad. But wait, the mana concentration on Earth is very low. If I stay in this soul state for too long, I might dissipate. First, I need to find a body without a soul. Being suddenly pushed into a desperate plight forced Kim Jinwoo to glide swiftly through the air to save himself. Not knowing how long time passed, he abruptly stopped when he caught a scent. Kim Jinwoo's eyes quickly turned toward an expensive house in the distance. I can sense something from that mansion. Curiosity combined with a glimmer of hope allowed him to change his flight path instantly. Let's go check it out. Unexpectedly, as soon as Kim Jinwoo flew into the house, he was stunned by the sight before him. Whether destiny was guiding him or not, he actually saw someone with a face identical to his lying on a hospital bed. The steady sound of the life support monitor echoed, making the atmosphere in the room suffocatingly heavy. As sobs began to echo into the space, Sun Hai tried to push aside the heavy emotions of the patient's family to make the final announcement. "I'm sorry, Chairman, we've done all we can, but there's nothing more we can do now." Oh-sung couldn't help howling as soon as he heard that. "It can't be! Jinwoo, where are you going, leaving your grandfather behind like this?" The absurd spectacle before him made Kim Jinwoo unable to stop pondering. There are all kinds of medical equipment equipped here, but who is this man exuding such an aura? Then, just a split second later, he was startled as old memories in his mind were unsealed. This person was Lee Jinwoo, the youngest grandson of the chairman of the Lee Group, the head of the Chaebol world, a genius from a young age who earned multiple PhD degrees from prestigious foreign universities. Word was his health wasn't good, so it turned out he had been bedridden like this. But this wasn't just poor health anymore. It was basically clinical death with no soul existing, and his breathing would stop completely in just a few hours. "Sorry, but this happens to be the exact body I need, so allow me to borrow it temporarily." The names are similar too, making it the absolute best fit for soul possession. With my magic, restoring this body is just a matter of a split second. Kim Jinwoo hurriedly channeled his inner power to perform the possession before it was too late. This transfer process took only a few seconds. Kim Jinwoo's floating soul quickly merged into Lee Jinwoo's withered body. A few minutes later, he slowly opened his eye. While Kim Jinwoo sat up, celebrating with a sigh in his head, "It worked! Lee Jinwoo's relatives were utterly astonished by this medical miracle. Mr. Lee was the first to speak up. Jinwoo, how could? Trembling from failing to process the truth yet, he immediately lunged at his beloved grandson. "Oh my God, I thought all hope was gone. This isn't a dream, right?" While Kim Jinwoo, still confused, blurted out a dumbfounded "huh." Almost instantly, everyone in the room swarmed him, including the doctor in charge of caring for the patient. "Oh my goodness, my Jinwoo, this is truly a miracle. Oh gods, I thank you. Are you okay? Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" As Kim Jinwoo awkwardly offered a sincere reply, "Right now I actually do feel uncomfortable," Oh-sung earnestly holstered out of love for his grandson despite tightly crushing the other person. "What are you idiots doing? Didn't you hear our Jinwoo say he's uncomfortable? Get away right now, hurry up." Not knowing how much time passed, Kim Jinwoo finally got some private space to lie down and sigh on the bed. After experiencing so many noisy events, he thought tiredly, "What a noisy, bustling family, truly exhausting." But from their perspective, the youngest in the family just came back from the dead, so such a reaction is only natural. Besides, this isn't bad either, both wealthy and harmonious. Living a life like this here wouldn't be half bad. Suddenly, Kim Jinwoo's brows tightly knitted together as his brain recalled a critical issue. Even in this moment, Arsalan is still marching toward the brink of destruction. Is there really no way to save Arsalan from the encroachment? The way to destroy the encroachment core, the source continuously spawning those monsters. Would using tanks or armored vehicles be effective? No, I'm afraid even nuclear bombs would be useless, let alone armored forces, because unless the core buried deep inside is destroyed, the monsters will keep respawning. And in the first place, would transporting such weapons over there even be feasible? No matter how he thought about it, he still hadn't found a satisfactory solution. Failing to find an optimal direction led Kim Jinwoo to reach for his gaming console to give himself an instant break. "Let's play a game to unwind a bit." He opened the machine, letting the game display its introductory screen. Thanks to this moment, Kim Jinwoo's heart found a little peace after a long period of exhausting work. "It's been a while since I played this Legend of the Sacred Dragon Part 7, a game recognized by an extremely picky game producer like me in my past life. Although carrying the familiar plot of embodying a hero and gathering companions to save the world, its storyline was exceptionally engaging. A hero, huh? If other heroes besides myself descended upon Arsalan, how wonderful that would be. If it weren't just one or two people but millions, the territory would quickly recover from the encroachment." Suddenly, the gaming machine issued a notification. "Hero Linka has received the Mage Summoning Formation, obtaining a 5-star SSR companion. Would you like to summon the second hero?" Without thinking much, Kim Jinwoo reached out and selected yes to summon the hero immediately. Thanks to that unconscious action, he abruptly froze, before cheerfully muttering while the game console was in freefall toward the floor. "That's right, summoning heroes, summoning Earth heroes." Kim Jinwoo's genius brain excitedly lit up. "Let's summon humans from Earth through the Soul Gate and then make them think Arsalan is just a game world. By creating an engaging storyline, I can lead them to clear out the encroachment. If people from Earth, those immune to the encroachment, help us, Arsalan can avoid destruction. In my past life I was a game developer, and now I am a mage. And the youngest son of the country's top chaebol family. Once I'm determined, nothing is impossible." Having secured a roadmap for a bright new future, Kim Jinwoo cheerfully mumbled to himself, "Only 3 years left until the day of destruction, let's give it a shot." A little later, when the family dining time began, Oh-sung excitedly checked in on his beloved grandson. "My youngest, whatever you want to eat or do, just tell me." Kim Jinwoo quickly replied with the joy of a child, "Thank you, Grandpa. Grandpa, there's something I want to do." Contrary to his imagination, Oh-sung unexpectedly put down his fork and spoke seriously. "Don't tell me you want to keep studying again. Did you forget you almost died because of that?" Kim Jinwoo quickly responded at an unimaginable speed. "It's not that. I want to try making a game." His words, seemingly as light as a passing breeze, froze the 4 people sitting at the table in shock. "Make a game." Oh-sung tremblingly spoke in a voice lower than a sewer. "You mean those nonsensical video games?" An overly serious expression made Kim Jinwoo slightly worried. "Is it not allowed?" Before witnessing his overly emotional expression, "Jinwoo, games are the best." Kim Jinwoo stunnedly listened to his siblings' cheers. Finally, Jinwoo has a hobby fitting for his age. That's right, the kid was always talking about neuroscience or AI all day long. Oh-sung, perhaps affected by his grandson's previous incident, couldn't help sobbing. This is the most joyous news I've heard lately. Jinwoo, don't we have a game company among our subsidiaries? He replied without much thought. There's FS Games, though they've spectacularly ruined everything they've touched. Oh-sung waited for the other person to finish his sentence before slamming the table and expressing his delight. That settles it. This is your grandfather's hospital discharge gift, so do whatever you want. Naturally, those words made Kim Jinwoo experience absurd family affection for the first time, prompting an inner outburst. What really? His brain became visibly chaotic. I never expected Grandpa to support me this much. Having a company would be beneficial in many aspects, and since it seemed like a failing company, it was also perfect for him to do whatever he wanted. Having the backing of his family naturally made Kim Jinwoo smile and nod happily. Thank you, Grandpa, I'll do a great job. Not knowing how much time passed, he snapped back to reality in the world of Arsalan. Kim Jinwoo blankly looked at the magic-scented space around him and muttered, "Is this the magic tower? It looks like Tiras moved it here. Luckily this is my original body. She said she would shape me into a pretty boy." Actually, this soul transfer between the two worlds was because Kim Jinwoo wanted to test his upcoming soul teleportation process. He had placed a simple auto-execute magic on his Earth body, and remote control was very smooth. Even though it looks a bit weird, it's not a problem. Alright, now let's go outline the game's storyline. And the task requiring an exceptionally wise brain naturally fell to our lovely Tia, who was currently busy writing all kinds of information to salvage the currently difficult situation. Unfortunately, her work was abruptly interrupted by Kim Jinwoo's sudden appearance. Are you writing a new masterpiece? Tia startledly scolded the other person. Whoa, my heart almost jumped out of my chest. Please don't suddenly speak up from behind like that. Causing him to scratch his head sheepishly and express, my apologies, Arsalan's greatest writer still seems busy. That statement made Tia quite happy to gently voice her inner thoughts. I'm stringing all the works I've written so far into one. Since everyone is going through a tough time, I want to create a temporary mental sanctuary for them. Kim Jinwoo rarely felt so comfortable pulling up a chair to sit opposite her. As expected, Tia has a truly wonderful heart. Hey, imagine a stranger suddenly falling into Arsalan. Tia sincerely offered a quick remark. Interesting, is that the setting for a novel? He suddenly put on a mysterious look, answering vaguely, something like that. Then Kim Jinwoo didn't forget the main issue, continuing to spell out the script he had conceived earlier. That person has no obligation to protect this world and only wants to enjoy themselves because they have nothing to do with this place, and we can't force them either. What should we do with someone like that to make them work to the bone for us? As a writer who had penned tens of thousands of different words, Tia quickly framed a rather good story skeleton. You're recruiting barbarians who only chase pleasure and indulgence. First, they will need a sense of belonging to this place. Feeling slightly intrigued by this train of thought, Kim Jinwoo couldn't help correcting, not necessarily barbarians, tell me more specifically. Tia unexpectedly smiled ambiguously before introducing content completely different from his thoughts. Love and tragedy. A barbarian craving only pleasure meets his beautiful ideal type, falls head over heels in love and settles down here. And before their love can bear fruit, right before their eyes, that ideal type meets a tragic death. Finishing that script, Tia clutched her face and laughed loudly like a madwoman. Kim Jinwoo's failure to interrupt gave Tia an opportunity to flex her writing prowess while her excitement was peaking. That's when you come to comfort them, tell them who the enemy is, and help them. Someone respected by the barbarians would also be great. For instance, someone close to the barbarians meeting a tragic end at the hands of the enemy would also be very effective. If a respectable person dies while trying to save the barbarians in danger. Emotional collapse and revenge, loss and regret, the sorrow of never being able to meet the one they loved and respected again, and the desire for revenge springing from there. Although those words differed somewhat from Kim Jinwoo's initial idea, he still couldn't hide his interest as he smiled and nodded slowly, truly worthy of Arsalan's greatest storyteller, outlining it in the blink of an eye. Love and tragedy. Love blinds people and revenge will become a powerful driving force. If I immerse them in the game's characters and plot and add a tragic setting, they will act on their own. However, Tia's loud, joyful voice suddenly rang out, breaking Kim Jinwoo's train of thought right in the middle. I want to see the tears of those barbarians soon. Just looking at that sight would be enough to fill my stomach without eating. Only at that moment did he awkwardly give a light cough. Tia, forcing her to stop what she was doing. I'm sorry, I got carried away again. When he had gained full attention from the other party, Kim Jinwoo sighed and cast a big bait. Nothing to apologize for. Let's collaborate on a project together. If things go smoothly, millions of souls will read your story. However, Tia gave a somewhat flustered reaction. Millions, making him speak with hesitation. Even tens of millions or hundreds of millions, who knows what's wrong. Tia pondered over the various reactions of future readers. The author is truly a genius. Is this the scent of a masterpiece burning? Voted 5 stars. Please release the next chapter quickly. Before jumping up as if electrocuted, my work reaching hundreds of millions of people. If that can happen, I'll do anything. I'll even become your slave. I don't care if my mind, body, and soul are tainted and shattered. The other person's beast-like transformation naturally frightened Kim Jinwoo outwardly. Turns out she's always written stories with this kind of mental state. She didn't hesitate to bluntly state the truth she had upheld throughout her career. The purest things are always born from the dirtiest and most shattered places. Kim Jinwoo temporarily brushed that issue aside to share with Tia. Let's just talk about business. First is the beta test version, meaning, imagine about 3,000 clueless people setting foot in Rainsword, and that number will increase over time. Create motivation for them to immerse themselves in this world and fight against the encroachment. Hearing this script for the first time, she naturally felt endlessly intrigued. This is a full-fledged fantasy novel. Do those living beings come from a civilization different from ours? The moment Kim Jinwoo nodded in acknowledgement. That's right, the setting is Arsalan and the summoning point will be… Right, let's choose the event village where the relocation plan is underway to escape the encroachment. Use this place as a tutorial area, a starting point, and write the story. Tia quickly let her demonic psyche suppress all reason, bursting into mad laughter. The event village, the land where love and tragedy begin. Just thinking about the barbarians sinking into emotional collapse makes me insanely excited. That craziness scared him into fleeing the scene quickly. Well, let's leave her be for a moment. Since Arsalan was already an existing world, with Tia's help to adjust the settings accordingly, the story would be completed quickly. As soon as the story was finished, he would send the proposal to FS Games. But he probably wouldn't be able to convince the staff with just a storyline. No matter how much of a genius Lee Jinwoo was, they would surely say he had lost his mind. Kim Jinwoo let his feet lead the way forward, letting his brain ponder over various things. What I am planning is a complete MMORPG world that guarantees freedom just like real life, where you can do anything and become anyone. That truly is a gathering of super technology only found in science fiction and impossible to achieve at present. However, since the current Soul Gate was still only for one person, he needed to create a storyline and a test video for people to see first. So I guess I need to find actors, huh? The moment that thought appeared, Kim Jinwoo channeled his magic in his mind. He used telepathy to contact his most cherished disciple for this mission. Hasman, do you hear me? The guy hurriedly stood at attention like an officer to show respect to the other person. Yes, master, I hear you loud and clear. His command quickly echoed in Hasman's ears. I am coming to Rainsword City now, so go with Hallen and Heine. There is something I need you guys to do for the sake of Arsalan, forcing the guy to drop his ongoing work immediately. Yes, I understand. A good while later, in Rainsword City, Kim Jinwoo slowly appeared right at the foot of the gate with a rugged staff in hand. Before he could even say a word, the 3 disciples who had been there since early on excitedly shouted out, "Welcome back, master." Hasman was the most eager to share what he had done for him, chiming in, "While you were away, I gave it my all to responsibly protect the territory." Hallen followed right behind him to step forward and express, "We pray that the blessings of Iala are always with you." Kim Jinwoo barely paid attention to their words and simply gave a polite, gentle remark. Everyone has worked hard in their respective positions. But Hasman failed to notice the other man's discomfort and continued showing his admiration for the brilliant man right before him. Compared to Master's hardships, what we did is nothing at all. Until finally he couldn't take it anymore and irritably gritted his teeth. I'm begging you guys, it's terrifying. So please stop shoving your faces right up against mine like that. Out of everyone who received Kim Jinwoo's message, only Heine maintained her composure and spoke with utmost seriousness. I am ready to sacrifice my life for Arsalan, my lord. While the other 3 were happily waiting for orders, Kim Jinwoo was busy scheming about the upcoming promotional video. thinking that Haina was a beauty so she'd be fine, but the other two looked way too much like villains to play the main characters. Seriously, who on earth looked like a pious figure and a former pope like that? A sudden thought popped into his head, giving him an excuse to flash a faint smirk, thinking in that case. Kim Jinwoo leisurely opened a small spatial gate to rummage for the items he needed while muttering under his breath, "Hasman, you're pretty good at dark magic, right?" Taken aback slightly by the question, the man still obediently nodded to confirm, "Yes, but compared to you, someone like me is nothing more than a mere worm and an ant." Kim Jinwoo suddenly handed over some strange-looking items to the two men, saying, "All right, that settles it. You too, try putting these on." And when they underwent a drastic transformation in various ways, he excitedly cheered, "As expected, it suits you both perfectly," while Hasman and Hallen let out overly dramatic, joyful yells. "Oh my god, my lord, isn't this the outfit a dark priest usually wears? You want me to play a dark priest? Goddess Iala, please forgive me, this is such a grave sin, it's blasphemy, absolute blasphemy." After dealing with those two crazy disciples, Kim Jinwoo turned his gaze to the remaining person, thinking, as for Haina, let's see. His genius brain started calculating everything as he looked at the practical yet rather unappealing armor she was currently wearing, thinking it's way too covered up. This is just way too modest. Female knights in games usually have to. He remained silent for a few seconds before offering her a new option. "Try wearing this instead, Haina," causing the other person to panic outwardly as she stammered, "Huh, my lord, you want me to wear that?" Kim Jinwoo suddenly leaned forward and replied sincerely, "Yes, put it on." Right at the moment when Haina still wanted to refuse, "My lord," he pulled out his trusty intimidation card, leaving her crying without tears. "It's all for the future of Arsalan, so put it on." A little while later, Haina slowly stepped out after dressing up according to the other person's wishes. "My lord, I've finished changing." The sudden change in her attire triggered a special effect that instantly sent Kim Jinwoo straight into jaw-dropping mode. He didn't hold back his praise for Haina. "It suits you amazingly well, no, it's absolute perfection." While she, feeling somewhat embarrassed, still remembered the crucial issue and questioned, "Does this even deserve to be called armor?" That question quickly led to a back-and-forth conversation between Kim Jinwoo and Haina. Remember this, the amount of skin armor exposes is directly proportional to its defense stat. What kind of absurd logic is that? It makes total sense, that's just the rule in my homeland Earth. What kind of crazy place is that world anyway? After managing to calm his disciples' nerves, he suddenly fell into deep silence, thinking the overall picture is basically set, but something is still missing. Since Haina was a knight, he needed to create a scene where she stood up to protect someone while facing those two guys like a frail and melancholy saint, for instance. Should he contact Saintess the Bassa? The image of a frail, 200-year-old woman smashing things with a staff quickly crushed that thought in Kim Jinwoo's mind, thinking, what a pity, I don't think a saintess would fit the vibe. Suddenly a joyful cheer echoed through the air, "You can't catch me. Sister Eri, you're way too slow." She watched the direction the two kids were running in and panicked, shouting, "Hey kids, you can't just run around wildly in the castle where the Lord is staying." Unfortunately, not only did they ignore her, but they also changed direction straight toward Kim Jinwoo, yelling, "It's the Lord!" which caused Eri's blood pressure to completely bottom out as she gasped, "The Lord? We're so sorry, my lord." The kids just wandered into the castle on their own. Kim Jinwoo didn't care about such trivial matters and cheerfully blurted out, "That's right, you should play the saintess." A sudden piece of casting direction that naturally startled Eri out of her wits. She panicked and came up with an excuse to refuse, "But I'm a succubus, I belong to a useless race that doesn't know how to do anything other than seduce people." But those exact words made Kim Jinwoo happier than ever, thinking, fantastic, that makes you even more suitable. While Eri tried her best to dodge the event, that would be blasphemous. Just a few minutes later, Kim Jinwoo was happily enjoying the cast lineup he had just put together. "So, shall we start acting a little now?" Who knows how long passed, but Kim Jinwoo and his newly formed four-person lineup were pretending to seriously listen to Tyrus's general report. The Tower Master of the Magic Tower, the mysterious Archmage, and the glorious Lord of Rainsword. Though the moment the other person was halfway through her speech, he quickly interrupted, "You don't need to call me by all those fancy titles." Because of this, Tyrus had to pause midway before continuing her previously unfinished announcement. "Yes, Master. As per your command, I have gathered all 130 of your disciples. Yet she still couldn't help but reveal her awkward expression as her eyes swept across the scene before her, thinking, but why is everyone dressed so weirdly? Kim Jinwoo gave a casual reply, we're just doing some roleplay, leaving Tiris even more confused as she habitually opened her mouth to echo, roleplay. He looked at the orb in his hand and uttered some bizarre words, we have to roleplay to save Arsalan, forcing her to wear a depressed look as she spoke her inner thoughts. I honestly have no idea what you're trying to say. Kim Jinwoo suddenly went silent to catch his breath for a few seconds before dropping an unexpected announcement. Before explaining everything, I have something to tell all of you. I only awakened not too long ago. I can even open a soul gate and connect to another world. A piece of good news that naturally excited his disciples endlessly. So you finally awakened after all, congratulations, master. Beneath the admiring gazes of the surrounding crowd, Kim Jinwoo gently laid out his master plan. I will summon heroes who are immune to corruption through the soul gate, heroes coming from the very same world as me. Your mission is to ensure those heroes can fight in Arsalan. For now, put aside your current positions and duties, prompting someone to innocently ask, then what are we supposed to do? Kim Jinwoo suddenly tossed a spherical crystal down to the leader. First, take this. And when the man showed his confusion, he quickly stated his expectations for his disciples. It contains a video recording of all of you acting together. Make it feel more epic and sacred, add more skeletons, and make the background setting even more detailed. And compress that video so it fits snugly inside a small magic crystal, leaving the lead disciple unable to fully digest those words as he confusedly asked back, wait, what? Instead of re-explaining, Kim Jinwoo cleared his throat and spoke in a cold tone, don't tell me a mage can't even pull off something like that, forcing the disciples to swallow their complaints, feeling tough yet not daring to utter a single peep, thinking, but their somewhat terrified behavior didn't upset Kim Jinwoo at all. On the contrary, it boosted his confidence tenfold, thinking, even though they look completely overwhelmed, they'll figure something out somehow. Turning the impossible into the possible is what mages do best. Putting that aside, when everyone was wearing blue cloaks, they looked exactly like the cat-shaped plushies in Lee Jinwoo's room. Driven by that thought, Kim Jinwoo suddenly gave the most childish command possible. That's right, from now on you are all Magimon, causing the person standing in the front row to awkwardly voice everyone's inner thoughts. What on earth is that? He simply gave a relatively vague answer. They're creatures from Earth that can make any wish come true, so my Magimon, go ahead and make my wish come true right now. A rapid shift in topic that went completely unnoticed by the disciples, who only answered with solemn dignity, yes, master. Who knows how much time had passed, but in the bustling city of Seoul, Kim Jinwoo quickly stepped out of his family's luxury car to bring a crucial box of data to FS game that could change the entire future of the company. Kim Jinwoo happily looked at the data box in his hands and excitedly thought, thanks to the Magimon, I finished the demo video in the blink of an eye. Suddenly, a strange sound rang out, making him instinctively turn his head in that direction in bewilderment. Hello, you must be Director Lee Jinwoo. I am Secretary Kim Hansu, it's a pleasure to meet you. He cheerfully bowed and extended his hand formally to greet the other party. Chairman Lee Osung asked me to assist you, it's an honor to work with you. And Kim Jinwoo, after gathering enough necessary info about him, eagerly shook Hansu's hand right away. I see, it's nice to meet you too. The man quickly guided the young man into the company while still busy reporting, just as you requested, I've gathered all the employees in the conference room, showing a relatively competent work ethic. Awesome, let's head upstairs. At the same time, Dongxian was sitting gloomily in his office, letting out one sigh after another. Entirely because of the aggressive articles he had just read online. A mistake, a choice for the future. The gaming industry is doomed. FS Game has become a playground for the rich. FS Game has hit rock bottom, reports. FS Game has practically dissolved. Those clickbait-laden words easily dampened Dongxian's mood noticeably. Thinking, Lee Jinwoo, a genius who earned 5 PhDs in his early 20s, is rumored to have made a spectacular comeback recently, so why on earth would he choose our dying company? Does he want to save a collapsing company the same way he saved himself? Suddenly, Hansu barged through the door, instantly snapping his train of thought. the director has arrived. Kim Jinwoo just walked into the room with an aura of overflowing confidence, which accidentally earned him the main character halo, making all the staff present in the office feel completely blinded by it. Dongxian himself couldn't believe this reality and stared wide-eyed, struggling to suppress the panic in his head, thinking, so this is Lee Jinwoo? His presence is simply unbelievable. Everyone grew tense as Kim Jinwoo took his seat in the power chair within the cool conference room. I am Lee Jinwoo. I don't think I need to introduce myself much anymore. Let's dive straight into the meeting. Fiend's Saga closed down last month and your 30 billion won game failed even before it was released. And the entire new development team transferred to NF, right? Hearing that, Dongxian rushed to apologize almost instantly. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. While a wave of indescribable panic swelled up inside his head, thinking, we're dead, our results are so terrible, we're probably all going to get fired, I knew it. He came here to shut down FS game and start a new one. But unexpectedly, Kim Jinwoo just let out a gentle sigh, chuckled, and muttered, good, I like it. And when Dongxian expressed his confusion on behalf of the other employees with a hesitant huh, he calmly stated his new direction. Everything has fallen apart anyway, so now we can just clean the slate and start over from scratch, leaving the older man with nothing to say other than a brief agreement. You're right. But those exact words gave Kim Jinwoo an opportunity to subtly have Hansu hand out the new project to the staff. Exactly, we can start over. I have something I want you all to see. Everyone take a copy and read through it. The moment Dongxian read the title, his entire body froze instantly. Project Arsalan. Before anyone could utter a word, Kim Jinwoo quickly laid out the script he had prepared the night before. That is the pitch proposal for a virtual reality game which includes the background, main storyline, and some concept art, so take a look through it and let me know your thoughts. Exactly as he predicted, when the employees read through the fairly detailed draft, they couldn't help but voice their lively praise. This is brilliant. The world building is solid and it really stands out. It feels medieval yet somehow modern at the same time. However, unlike those relatively young and inexperienced staff members, Dongxian anxiously voiced his perspective. But it says the platform is VR here. I don't think a VR game option will sell well when VR isn't widely adopted yet, and it's virtual reality. I think the public will push back against it. No matter how negatively the other man phrased it, Kim Jinwoo didn't feel worried at all and cheerfully replied, don't worry, people won't even be able to buy it in time because it'll completely sell out. A rather confident statement that naturally left the older man endlessly confused. What? Meanwhile, he suddenly shed his previous friendly demeanor to put on a stern, warden-like expression. I mean exactly what I just said. I'm going to turn this world upside down with this virtual reality game. Seeing is believing. Is there a spacious room in this building? Roused by surging curiosity, Dongxian nodded immediately. Yes, we have a motion capture studio with all the equipment cleared out. And Kim Jinwoo quickly issued a command that left everyone feeling both expectant and nervous. Let's head over there. Call everyone down as well. A short while later, all the company employees were gathered inside the motion capture studio. And taking advantage of the big boss's absence, they chatted loudly. Virtual reality? I heard he's a genius, but he really is a bit eccentric. Do you think he's trying to scam us? Him, why would he even bother doing that? Until Dongxian couldn't stand their pointless gossiping anymore and cleared his throat to make his presence known. Everyone is here, right? Kim Jinwoo didn't even bother looking at them as he immediately nodded and gave the order, good, turn off the lights. Right as the staff member in charge reached out to turn off the lights, the dark and quiet space unintentionally carried Kim Jinwoo's voice further than ever before. Everyone, step back. He placed a black box on the ground and spoke vaguely to draw as much attention as possible. All right, let's begin. Suddenly, cracks began to appear on the black box, letting a blinding stream of energy burst outward. In the span of a single brief second, the magic array Kim Jinwoo had placed into the box rapidly bloomed, forcing everyone to hurriedly cover their eyes. Before they knew how much time had passed, everyone had been swiftly transported straight into Arsalan. Dongxian, despite knowing some basic details beforehand, still couldn't digest this reality outside the script, thinking, a magic array? What on earth is going on here? Suddenly, his field of vision was blocked, causing him to look upward in utter confusion. The terrifying sight before her eyes made a female employee scream at the top of her lungs. What is going on? Everyone stared in a daze at a massive dragon soaring overhead while letting out an intimidating roar. In that brief moment, not a single person could maintain their courage and they all screamed in terror. A dragon? Is that a real dragon? Run for your lives, everyone. That reaction made Kim Jinwoo burst into a hearty laugh. Everyone calm down, it's just a hologram. When Dongxian blankly spoke out everyone's inner thoughts with a what, the other man slowly dragged out his words to pull everyone's attention back to him. A hologram, in other words, virtual reality. The moment the space fell silent, Kim Jinwoo enthusiastically spread his arms and announced the most important thing. This is Arsalan. This is the world where Project Arsalan takes place. That statement made Dongxian experience hyper-realistic virtual reality for the very first time as he panicked and yelled at the top of his lungs, "You mean this is the world inside the game you designed?" Kim Jinwoo saw nothing wrong with what he did and just gently nodded. That's right, looks pretty realistic, doesn't it? While everyone else was busy muttering various things like how can technology like this even exist, he suddenly snapped his fingers while they were still distracted by his words. Now, let's move on to the main storyline. The beautiful ground beneath the employees' feet rapidly turned pitch black. For some unknown reason, the moon moved at an abnormally fast pace, creating a bizarre solar eclipse resembling the eerie hour of wandering spirits in ancient folklore. Unexpectedly, mere seconds after the sunlight was completely blocked, Hasman and Hallen suddenly emerged from the ground according to Kim Jinwoo's instructions. The two of them played their villainous roles to absolute perfection without a single flaw. Tremble in fear, you mortals. The power of darkness shall corrupt every last one of you. Their summoning chant was quickly answered by strange skeletons rushing forward. Hasman didn't care who the strange-looking people in front of him were and simply belted out his lines exactly as the script required. "My minions, enjoy the flesh feast of these mortals." Those words scared the wits out of everyone. Run, what is that? Is that thing actually real? Director, tell me that's really just a hologram, right? But for some unknown reason, Kim Jinwoo decided to unleash his trolling nature right in the middle of this life-or-death crisis. Well, probably not. That nonchalant attitude made the group of employees feel even more hopeless. What? Though in truth, everything was going according to his plan because when humans reached the brink of despair, a mysterious hero would appear to save them. Haina, everyone fall back. The courageous woman dashed forward at an unimaginable speed, solely to wipe out Hasman and Hallen's NPC skeleton army. When the bloody chapter ended, the victims' panicked minds were soothed by someone with healing magic as Eri appeared in the role of a beautiful saintess. Everyone, don't worry. Before casting a wave of miraculous magic to wipe out all the remaining heretical remnants. She then returned to Haina's side and uttered words akin to a deity descending. "The light shall protect you all." Just like that, dozens of people from FS Game fell for the ultimate prank, screaming on cue, "It's a saintess! The saintess has blessed us. The holy night has saved us." Kim Jinwoo listened to every single word of theirs and couldn't help but smile blissfully, thinking, perfect. Just as I expected, they're completely sucked into it. Everything was proceeding exactly according to plan. Kim Jinwoo watched the stage he had created reach its climax and happily stepped aside to celebrate internally, thinking, everything is going precisely as planned. Now it was time for the grand finale. Hasman turned out to have the most spectacular acting performance, excitedly roaring without a hint of awkwardness. "Looks like I've got plenty of fresh test subjects. Now my lackeys tear those fools apart and devour their flesh." The frantic screams of the zombies made Haina put on a tense face and shout, "Saintess Eri, take the cue and fly up." "Understood. Everyone, please lend me the light within your hearts." Hearing that, the group of employees raised their hands and screamed like zealots of some cult. "It looks like they need our power. Raise your hands. All right, let's pool our strength together." A surge of pure power, goodness knows whether it actually came from them or not, rapidly swirled into the blade of Haina's sword. Thanks to that, she gained enough confidence to charge forward headfirst. Haina let out a battle cry before bringing her sword down, "For Arsalan," prompting the surrounding people to follow suit and loudly cheer, "For Arsalan, for Arsalan." Just as predicted, Haina only needed to deliver a gentle slash for Hasman's face to turn pale green the moment he saw the stream of pure light lunging toward him. This is impossible. The ball of energy released by Haina unleashed a flurry of tiny electric arcs to wipe out the very last remnants of the zombie army. Seizing the moment while the acting fever was at its peak, Hasman dramatically collapsed to the ground in an artistic fashion. He didn't forget to plead with an unusually shaky voice, "Lord of Perdition, please save me," which prompted Hallen to immediately clear his throat and get into character. useless trash who are of no use to me. A torrent of dark aura burst from his hands, painfully swallowing Hasman whole as his screams echoed far and wide. The employees witnessing the scene couldn't help but be horrified. He killed his own ally. Yet before anyone could recover from the shock, Hallen extended his hand toward them and cast a spell. Now, it's your turn. Almost instantly, everyone was quickly enveloped by a wave of demonic energy, filling the space with ear-piercing screams. As they began to feel desperate, clutching their heads and wailing, "Save us, run," Kim Jinwoo quickly teleported everyone back to the motion capture studio. Dongxian, after realizing he hadn't suffered any injuries, opened his eyes in confusion. Only to find himself and the rest of the staff still shell-shocked from Kim Jinwoo's overly realistic simulation. Only then did the man cheerfully turn on the lights and question the employees. "So, everyone, you think the concept video wasn't bad, right?" That question made the employees hastily and noisily voice their thoughts. "Was that really just a hologram? Boss, what on earth is going on here? When did you develop this kind of tech? Saintess, please let us meet the Saintess again." And Kim Jinwoo naturally felt intimidated by their overwhelming enthusiasm and awkwardly spoke up. "Everyone, please calm down first." Dongxian, as expected of the one with the most seniority in this workplace, quickly regained his composure to speak on behalf of the staff behind him. "I'm sorry, boss. I got a little too excited. This is my first time experiencing virtual reality." "But boss, is it really okay to reveal something so astonishing? Isn't this one of the Lee Group's trade secrets? The value of a virtual reality game is beyond imagination, and if this leaks out..." Kim Jinwoo naturally had no fear of this issue and confidently talked back to the other person. "Can you guys believe it? Just go outside and tell everyone that FS Games is making a virtual reality game." Dongxian fell dead silent for a few seconds before responding awkwardly, "I suppose so." After easing everyone's state of mind, Kim Jinwoo cleared his throat and posed a crucial probing question. "So, has everyone decided to come with me?" Almost immediately, the staff enthusiastically replied while their brains were still floating from the virtual reality experience moments ago. "Whatever you need us to do, boss, as long as we get to go with you, we'll do anything. Even if it means going to hell, we'll follow you." With the plan neatly completed, Kim Jinwoo gained the confidence to deliver a passionate speech. "Fantastic! Then forget everything you know about game development. We're starting from scratch using a new engine created by me. Since there will be an AI assisting you, learning it won't be that hard. Let's conquer the gaming industry. No, let's conquer world culture together. We can do it. Let's make history." That rallying cry was what prompted the staff to enthusiastically raise their hands and cheer along. Not knowing how much time had passed, an article titled, "The Future of Korea's Gaming Industry." No, the future of Korea is FS Games. This was a shocking piece of news. FS Games is making a game that will change the world, quickly published for the public to read. Almost just moments after that, a series of other news articles also posted stories with similar content. A virtual reality game. Everyone was praising CEO Jinwoo as a savior who would create a paradise for gamers, while urging each other to quickly invest in an opportunity rated as even bigger than Bitcoin. This deal was bigger than Bitcoin. However, those flowery words quickly created a wave of unpleasant reactions on social media. At the same time, Kim Jinwoo, reading the comments in his private laboratory, couldn't help laughing as he muttered, "As expected, no one believes it." Suddenly, his phone buzzed because Oh-sung was calling. Kim Jinwoo picked up the phone without a moment's hesitation. "Hello, Grandpa." That relatively calm action unintentionally kicked off a brief conversation between Oh-sung and him. "Jinwoo, have you read the articles online yet?" "I skimmed through them. They're riding the momentum to insult my grandson. If you want, I'll have the legal team deal with them right away." "It's fine, Grandpa. Isn't this also a good way to promote?" Oh-sung sensed the other person's excessive calmness and could only sigh as he muttered, "If you say so. But anyway, how is the business progressing?" Kim Jinwoo quickly gave a most positive reply. "Everything is progressing well. We just finished the beta test," allowing Oh-sung, who had been in an anxious state, to heave a sigh of relief. "That's wonderful news." Suddenly, Kim Jinwoo unexpectedly thought of an important issue. Come to think of it, the fishing skill has already been integrated. That train of thought quickly gave him the opportunity to change the subject. "Grandpa, you like fishing, right?" Treated with concern by his grandson, Oh-sung naturally felt overjoyed and shared all sorts of things. "Back in my day, I even caught sharks as big as a house. I even fought with a sailfish." Kim Jinwoo waited for the other person to finish his sentence before asking an ambiguous question. Would you like to go fishing with me? Not sensing anything amiss, Oh-sung sincerely replied with obvious sadness, I'd love to, but my back hasn't been feeling too well lately. I guess I'll just stay home and rest for a while. That exact statement gave him a rare opportunity to execute his plan as flawlessly as possible. Then there's something I want to show you. I'll come over to your place right now. That night at the Lee family's mansion, Oh-sung, holding the item brought by his grandson, perplexedly opened his mouth to mutter, so this is the VR device you made yourself. Driven by the excited feeling of seeing someone fall into the trap, Kim Jinwoo quickly put on his devilish tone. That's right, just lie down and try it out. You're in for a huge surprise. As soon as Oh-sung got into position, he silently evaluated the product quality almost immediately. I only plan to go along with his whim, but its wearability and design are much better than what Oh-sung Electronics makes. Truly my grandson. Seeing the other person stay silent for a long time, Kim Jinwoo couldn't help probing. Are you ready? It was only then that Oh-sung remembered he had to speak up, nodding and muttering politely. Of course, let's see what you've got. Obtaining that approval, he cheerfully pressed the startup button on the machine while busy chatting with Oh-sung. Then see you in Arsalan. Data silently transmitted within the electronic circuits. Just a few seconds later, Oh-sung awoke in a haze. He looked at the unfamiliar scenery around him and instinctively muttered in confusion, where is this? Oh-sung easily fell into a state of shock upon feeling the raw authenticity of the natural space he was looking at. Before he could say anything, Kim Jinwoo suddenly appeared, delivering an industrial-grade greeting. Welcome to Arsalan, Grandpa. When Oh-sung let out the confused question screaming in his head, Jinwoo, what is this? Where on earth are we? He gently diverted the man with a most logical explanation. You're inside the virtual reality game I'm developing. Your in-game body is modeled after your appearance when you were 40 years old. I wanted to make you even younger, but I couldn't find any reference materials. Seeing himself in the mirror, Oh-sung couldn't help howling. This is impossible, virtual reality, so that was actually true. The other's startled reaction made Kim Jinwoo burst out laughing. I told you you'd be surprised. Grandpa, you're the first person to log into the virtual world I created. Oh-sung didn't pay attention to the other's words and happily touched his face, which he hadn't seen in so long. It's real, this is my younger self. No wonder my back doesn't hurt anymore, this feels amazing. He didn't skimp on praising Kim Jinwoo. This doesn't just stop at being surprising anymore, it's on a completely different level. Where on earth did you get the time to research and build something like this? He cleverly came up with a rather convincing reason. When I was in a vegetative state, my consciousness was actually still active. While lying there, I had plenty of time to think up all these ideas. I was able to focus entirely on my own thoughts. Luckily, Oh-sung didn't think much of it since his grandson had been a genius since childhood, but he still blurted out a question driven by rising curiosity. Can you really do all that? Kim Jinwoo didn't want to delve too deeply into the matter and excitedly changed the subject almost immediately. Anyway, let's go, Grandpa. Fortunately, the man was still overwhelmed by the scenery around him and continued the conversation on instinct. Where are we going? Leading the person forward, he cheerfully shared his inner thoughts. Let's go fishing. A good while later, looking at the sparkling lake before him, Kim Jinwoo couldn't help announcing, We've arrived. Seeing it, Oh-sung widened his eyes in praise. What a beautiful lake. He unexpectedly watched his grandson pull a bunch of items out of a spatial gate, prompting him to express his bewildered thoughts almost immediately. Just like the mirror earlier, truly astonishing. Handing a fishing rod to the other person, Kim Jinwoo spoke sincerely. It's magic. I'm designing it to be as easy to use as possible, so before long you'll be able to do it yourself. Oh-sung quickly brushed aside the knowledge he couldn't yet absorb to return to his favorite hobby. This fishing rod is good. The grip feels just like the one I used many years ago. Spinning around to build momentum a few times, he cast the rod with pinpoint precision. Now watch closely, grandson. As soon as the fishing line dropped onto the lake's surface, in a brief split second, Oh-sung's long fishing line was yanked away hurriedly. The rapidly unfolding event made him shout out hastily, Fish on. This little rascal is ridiculously strong. Oh-sung strained all his limbs, forcing long dormant muscle groups to wake up and assist him. He used all his might to yank the rod up. I'm much stronger than that. A huge, monstrous fish quickly flew into midair under Osung's astonished gaze. He stared at the fish he had just caught for a long time without being able to snap back to reality. What on earth is this? While Osung blankly muttered, Kim Jinwoo cheerfully clapped and congratulated the other person. Such a big fish, you're amazing, Grandpa. That exact statement woke him up to stare straight at his muscular hands. A sense of joy unexpectedly welled up in Osung's mind out of nowhere. I had already accepted the relentless passing of time. But how long has it been since I felt this full of vitality? It's been so long I can't even remember anymore. While Osung immersed himself in his fantasy, laughing happily, Kim Jinwoo cheerfully pondered his personal agenda for which he had spent ages building all sorts of plans. Finally, I'll be able to bring Earthlings here to protect Arsalan. Still, this isn't bad at all. Escaping that train of thought, he immediately changed the subject. Grandpa, let's take a picture to commemorate your feat of catching a big fish. Strike a pose. Overwhelmed by one surprise after another, Osung excitedly agreed right away. It even has a photo mode. Sure, take one for me. He quickly climbed on top of the weeping, grievance-stricken fish and laughed heartily. I feel full of energy. Just like that, the rejuvenated man broke into a joyful smile for his grandson to capture in a photo. That night, the grandfather and grandson sat by a campfire to enjoy some delicious roasted fresh fish. Osung chewed a large piece of fish noisily while cheerfully muttering, "This is great. I can actually taste the food and feel full," prompting Kim Jinwoo to laugh and echo, "Bon appetit." Suddenly, the sound of strange footsteps echoed softly. Two strange hunters quickly approached them with clear hostility written on their faces. I've never seen these people in the kingdom before. The moment Osung saw them appear, he confusedly spoke up. Aside from us, are there other people connected too? While Kim Jinwoo awkwardly delivered a clumsy lie, no, they're NPCs. When the two hunters displayed their incomprehension while continuing to advance toward the opposing party. What? Connected? NPCs? They're using such weird words. Drag these suspicious fellows before the Lord. Before either of them could do anything, Kim Jinwoo used telepathy to converse with the opponents. Stop right there. I'm discussing an important matter with an honored guest, so step back. The cold tone and bloodlust-filled face of the opponent terrified the two hunters. My lord. They hurried to sprint away as fast as possible. We're sorry. That left Osung to raise an eyebrow in confusion. Why did they suddenly run away? Is it a programming bug? Kim Jinwoo didn't want to talk much about the issue and simply played along. I suppose so. Remembering an important issue, he had to probe immediately. Though it's still a bit crude, you've built quite a lot. How far along is the development? Kim Jinwoo didn't think much and answered straight. A beginner village, a city, and a hunting ground. Osung cheerfully laughed and confided in his grandson, we still have a long way ahead of us. From now on, I'll support you all the way, so focus entirely on development. Those words naturally made him feel happier than ever. Fantastic! With backing from Chairman Osung, development speed is bound to skyrocket. Prompting Kim Jinwoo to express his gratitude sincerely. Thank you, Grandpa, we'll do our best. Suddenly, the older man turned serious and asked an off-topic question. By the way, are you planning to take this back? The other person's fairly clear depiction helped him understand immediately, prompting a swift reply. The connection device? There are still many areas that need improvement, so I have to take it back for now. Hearing that, Osung began to grumble and lament. This old body aches all over. It wouldn't be strange if I dropped dead tomorrow. I guess I'll just lie in bed and wait for the grave. Even though Kim Jinwoo intentionally exposed the truth. You just said that apart from the injury, your body is completely healthy. The older man continued his performance sincerely. My grandmother is calling out to me already. I'm old, so I might as well just die. Naturally, as a little-known inevitability, he immediately softened and sighed. Just keep it for now. I'll let you know when you can reconnect. Hearing that, Osung beamed brighter than a flower. My youngest is truly the best. Thanks to the absolute support of Chairman Lee Osung, development proceeded extremely smoothly. To help players adapt to the alternate world, utility features were developed and improved, and the programming team was now accustomed to the magic engine, developing the system many times faster. Furthermore, after creating the initial main storyline based on Tia's script, the art team designed the appearance and detailed settings for each NPC. There were characters who were even excessively favored, like Prince Leon, whom the staff fell so deeply in love with that they forgot their ongoing work. He's truly the fated character of my life. I want to see him move in real life so bad, right? He's insanely handsome. If we enter Arsalan, we'll get to meet him in person, right? I heard only directors and team leads get to test it. Dongxian, arriving at an inopportune time, got goosebumps upon seeing the murderous glares filled with intent from the subordinate staff. As they began bombarding him with interrogation-like questions, "Team lead, I heard you haven't been going home lately. You're in the testing room every day. Is playing by yourself really that fun?" He only awkwardly replied and turned to leave immediately. "I'm just working." Luckily, just as the atmosphere grew awkward, the elevator doors suddenly opened. Kim Jinwoo, completely oblivious to his subordinates' petty gossip, calmly stepped out to greet them. "Good afternoon," forcing everyone to stop what they were doing and bow to reply immediately. "Hello, boss, good afternoon." Kim Jinwoo quickly struck up a conversation with Dongxian, ignoring the fact that they were in the shared workspace. The connection device just passed the stability test. If the connection device has passed the stability test, it means production will start soon. And one of the directors would make an important announcement. Yes. The other intentionally spoke right there, leaving Dongxian to awkwardly address everyone in the large room. "Everyone knows about Universe Unpacked, Osung Electronics' new product showcase event, right? Our FS Games will also be participating." That announcement naturally made the staff beam with joy. Recalling the harsh words he had seen online earlier, Dongxian spoke up eloquently as a way to shake off the sadness. "Up until now, everyone has endured a lot, all the criticisms and insults directed at the boss and the company. You must have endured a lot of pain. Now is the time to turn all of that into cheers and praise. Arsalan Saga will conquer the global gaming market." Unexpectedly, that way of speaking was met with endless applause from the staff. Before everyone dispersed, Kim Jinwoo added a special detail. "After the presentation ends, I'll distribute the highest-end devices to everyone. We'll also conduct a large-scale internal test." Thanks to that generous financial backing, the staff enthusiastically chanted his name loudly. "Lee Jinwoo, Lee Jinwoo, Lee Jinwoo." While Kim Jinwoo was happily soaking up their admiration, he felt his phone vibrating furiously. It turned out Osung, remembering the VR gaming session from the other day, sent a barrage of messages to him. "Jinwoo, are you opening the server today? Grandpa is starting his vacation from today, please open the server." However, his final message, "Grandpa is on his way to your place right now," startled Kim Jinwoo. He hurriedly asked for permission. "I have an urgent matter to handle, so I'm leaving first. Everyone can go home early today." When Dongxian expressed his strong work ethic, "Boss, I was planning to keep working overtime today." The girls couldn't help screaming noisily. "Only the team lead gets to work overtime again? That's so unfair." A while later at the Universe Unpacked event hall, a gathering place for fantasy enthusiasts, tech reviewers Han Dong and Jung Wook began their tour with contrasting mindsets. FS Games is actually participating. Are they planning to announce a second-generation VR device or something? If they keep hyping virtual reality and then release another failed VR device, they're absolute frauds. But thanks to that, they're drawing this much attention, right? Anyway, this still feels like the worst move ever. Everyone says unless it's true virtual reality, they're doomed. From uncomfortable wearing sensations to batteries and app compatibility, the market still has countless issues to solve. Osung, a device manufacturer inferior to the American tech giants, is preparing to launch virtual reality. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi novel. If it's a drastically improved VR device, it might steal the spotlight. I can already picture you bashing it to pieces in your review video. Ladies and gentlemen, Osung Electronics' official Universe Unpacked event will begin shortly. It's starting. The host quickly introduced, causing everyone to fall silent in unison. A special guest will personally introduce the new business venture. Please give a warm welcome to the CEO of FS Games, Lee Jinwoo. While the audience was still busy murmuring, "Look, it's Lee Jinwoo, the genius of the Osung family who just returned from the dead," Kim Jinwoo confidently spoke to the public. "Hello everyone, I'm Lee Jinwoo, CEO of FS Games. Lately, I've been quite fond of the memes about myself, rumors like I invented superconductors or that I'm going to open the space age by inventing anti-gravity devices. There are countless stories like that circulating. The product I'm introducing today isn't magical to that extent, but I guarantee it will completely meet everyone's expectations. So allow me to begin. Kim Jinwoo secretly used magic to create special effects, leaving the crowd in endless confusion. Experiencing this sight for the first time, Young Wook and Han Dong gasped endlessly. What is this? An ocean? What kind of 4D effect is this? Kim Jinwoo naturally understood the mixed emotions of the crowd below and calmly continued his presentation. We have conquered the oceans. There have been countless tragedies and hardships, but humanity's footprints have finally touched dry land. We have crossed deserts, strolled across grasslands, and touched eternal snow. With courage, defiance of death, and the perseverance to overcome despair, we have conquered the highest mountains. The genuine chill made Han Dong gasp. What kind of technology is this? Is it CGI? Young Wook dropped his disdainful attitude and trembled as he continued. Hey, I can feel the texture and even the cold. Unbelievable. Before anyone could say another word, Kim Jinwoo unexpectedly continued his presentation. After conquering the land, we even conquered the sky. We didn't stop there, we put humans on the moon and launched rover probes to Mars. How wonderful it would be if we could conquer the universe as well. However, due to physical limitations, that is nearly impossible with current scientific technology. Are we born in an era too mediocre for exploration? Will we die without ever experiencing such romance? But I refuse to give up, and finally I found it. I have created a world for you to explore. Kim Jinwoo snapped his fingers to bring everyone back to the event hall in a brief split second, before transporting them to a strange space with a blood moon. A strange place filled with a gloomy atmosphere, which left everyone frozen in place. Experiencing this blended virtual reality technology for the first time, Han Dong involuntarily blurted out his inner thoughts. Where is this? Perhaps prompted by Kim Jinwoo, a series of terrifying monsters suddenly appeared, panicking the crowd. What is this? Meanwhile, he simply continued his unfinished presentation to make the advertisement leave a deeper impression. I proudly present to you a fully immersive virtual reality game, A World Dreaming of Hope, Arsalan Saga. The early access version of Arsalan Saga will begin in 2 weeks. We require you to connect via the Soul Link connection device. Limited to 2,500 units, they will go on sale starting today. Immediately after those words, the exclusive connection device for Arsalan Saga was put up for sale at over 3 million won per unit. This led viewers watching the press conference online to express their concerns on social media. A fully immersive virtual reality game, is that for real? It's a scam. Is Osung Electronics manipulating their stock price? What the hell is that guy talking about? Lee Jinwoo has lost his mind. What a national embarrassment. Han Dong read every single comment and sighed. The comments are all negative as expected. Despite fierce opposition, the Soul Links sold out completely. Young Wook then voiced his perspective. Honestly, I still don't believe it. If this is a scam, I'm suing immediately. When he revealed his suspense, the early access version starts in 2 weeks. I bought one, so in 2 weeks I'll unbox and review it. The other didn't hesitate to throw a bucket of cold water on him. I'm looking forward to seeing whether we'll meet in Arsalan or in court in 2 weeks. That annoying way of talking made Han Dong ask a difficult question. What if it's real? Young Wook laughed with an unclear attitude but confidently replied. Then I'll quit being a tech YouTuber and switch to becoming an Arsalan YouTuber. 2 weeks later in Arsalan, the beautiful dreamland was dying a slow death with every passing second. Kim Jinwoo cheerfully looked up at the sky, then sighed and muttered like an aged sage. They've finally arrived, the heroes of Earth. Haggad smiled warmly and spoke up. Welcome to Avani Tavern, adventurer. I am Haggad, the master of Avon Tavern. Tia shouted almost immediately. Wait. Wait, Tavern Master Haggad, your acting is too stiff. Act a bit more naturally. Next, Tia made a somewhat funny request. Since a tavern master must have a protruding belly, starting today, eat 6 meals a day. Haggad didn't object in the slightest, simply nodding. Yes, I understand. Tia raised an eyebrow and looked to the left. Next, Thompson, in the role of the blacksmith. Have you memorized all your lines? Thompson stood at attention with a straight back. Diligently, director. Satisfied, she shouted loudly. Good, prepare to act. Right after that command, he began to laugh exaggeratedly while raising his hammer high. Ah, my hand slipped, the sword broke. Due to the failed enhancement, all materials have disappeared. That over-the-top acting made Tia extremely excited. Good, make it a bit more sarcastic. Thompson chimed in midway, but the success rate for enhancement is 99%. Is it really necessary to intentionally fail? Lowering her head to look at the book in her hands, she replied, "That's the only way to get them hooked, plus the original design calls for it." Causing him to respond, "It's pretty much like a gambling addiction." Tia immediately nodded in agreement. Exactly. At that moment, Kim Jinwoo suddenly walked over from somewhere. "You're doing a great job," and hearing his voice right beside her, she happily smiled. "Lord Jinwoo." Kim Jinwoo slowly inquired about the situation. "The heroes will be arriving here soon. Is the magic tower functioning well?" Tia briskly reported. "Yes, right now we can simultaneously generate up to 10,000 bodies. Going beyond that will require expanding our facilities." He muttered thoughtfully while rubbing his chin. "As expected, mana stones are the real issue." Tia quickly added, "We have to solve this problem to proceed smoothly toward our ultimate goal." Kim Jinwoo didn't reply right away and focused on deep thought. "We definitely need more troops, but there's no need to rush. For now, we can gradually reclaim the eroded land alongside the heroes who have arrived. For the present, let's just focus on the positive situation right in front of us." At this point, he suddenly cast his gaze around in a circle and silently assessed. The atmosphere is completely different compared to when they were slowly dying away without a shred of motivation when facing despair. This is precisely the hope that breathes life back into their world. With that thought, he abruptly turned to look at her. "Are there any other issues?" Tia closed the book and softly replied, "We don't have any knights to play Leon." Kim Jinwoo, on the contrary, didn't see this as a problem. Just find any random knight who's good at swordsmanship to play the role. But Tia started rambling with an infatuated look. "According to the concept art, he's an extremely handsome man who looks like the living embodiment of the holy sword, so we can't just pick anyone. Since he's the central character driving the story, we absolutely must cast an extraordinarily handsome man." Hearing that, he frowned slightly and thought, "True, most knights give off the vibe of seasoned warriors rather than pretty boys. Even the most handsome knight in Rainsword has only ever been called a decent-looking guy." Kim Jinwoo finally felt a slight headache at this point. Making players fall in love with Arsalan, immersing them deeply into this place, making them despise the erosion, driving them to fight for Arsalan with Prince Leon standing at the very center of it all. Finding himself still completely flustered, Kim Jinwoo blurted out, "Isn't there any way?" Before Tia could even answer, hearing Tiras chuckle nearby. "There is a way." Hearing her voice, he turned his face toward Tiras. She quickly approached Kim Jinwoo and offered a wicked grin. "Why not just create a body and let Master possess it?" Adding, "Even though Master isn't a master swordsman, you possess a profound understanding of swordsmanship." Hearing this, a chill ran down his spine, thinking, instead of a practical method, this feels like it's just meant to satisfy her own hidden motives. Yet Kim Jinwoo himself let out a couple of clearing coughs and amended his stance. "That idea actually sounds okay. First, we'll create the body based on the concept art and discuss the details later." At this point, Tiras suddenly interjected, "What kind of person do you take me for?" Her expression at that moment looked utterly gloomy. "I've already finished it, please follow me this way." Kim Jinwoo and Tia followed Tiras to a certain location. The moment she stepped inside, Tia let out a startled gasp. "Are all of these dolls?" Kim Jinwoo glanced around and dropped a blunt remark. "This place still looks genuinely creepy." At that moment, she accidentally caught sight of something. Tia excitedly stepped closer. "This doll is actually pretty cute." Tiras evenly replied, "That doll is a childhood version of Master. I designed it so it could fit snugly in your arms." And excitedly added, "The main highlight is these chubby cheeks." Tia eagerly lifted the doll high up. "Oh, what a masterpiece. Please transfer your soul into this body, my lord." Kim Jinwoo rejected it directly without a second thought. "I am not transferring into that thing." She immediately tried her best to coax him. "Oh, come on, why not? I'll shower you with endless affection." With his face showing 10 parts dismay as he replied, "Right, that's exactly the problem. I'm clearly going to suffocate to death." Tiras piped up from the side, "Leon's body is over here." She even cheerfully gave a warning beforehand. "You two shouldn't be too surprised when you see it." Kim Jinwoo was momentarily clueless. "What?" Tiras reached out and began slowly pulling back the fabric. Finally, the moment has arrived. As she applied strong force to pull it away, revealing something that didn't belong to this world, a divine beauty. Tia and he stared intently to see what kind of masterpiece it actually was. The moment the covering cloth was pulled down, the body before their eyes emitted a faint glow. Tia's eyes widened instantly as she lunged forward in excitement. "So perfect." He's even cooler than the Leon I imagined, Tiras proudly boasted right away. I worked hard for a full month without resting. The bones are made from cactus bone and the muscles are synthetic fibers made from molten ESD, so its physical capabilities are exceptionally superior. She continued adding, I also spent every last coin I had to craft the equipment. It's a masterpiece made from Lord Helbai's scales, crafted by 12 dwarf artisans I hired. Kim Jinwoo almost instantly caught the suspicious point. Helbai, that guy Helbai willingly handed over his scales. But he brushed that matter aside and sat down in a chair. All right, let's test it out to see if the connection works properly. The staff in Kim Jinwoo's hand began to glow. Meanwhile, Tiras and Tia stood to the side watching in excitement. Not long after, he slowly opened his eyes inside Leon's body. Meanwhile, back in Seoul, 10 minutes before the launch of Arsalan's saga, Hebyul excitedly shouted, "This is the standard version of Soul Link." Clutching the Soul Link tightly in her hand, her eyes showed clear fascination. Scrolling past a fiercely exploding chat section, Hebyul slowly replied, I was planning to buy the pro version, but what if it turns out to be a scam? So for now, I'll just buy the standard version. With that said, she eagerly put it on. When I switched to the broadcasting settings, the chat box popped up right in front of my eyes. I can probably use this for my daily streams too, right? Then Hebyul raised her voice in a cheer, It's 10 o'clock. Looking at the instruction text, she stammered, Everyone, it says I can connect now. Even so, Hebyul gently adjusted the Soul Link into place. For now, I'll try connecting and see. Let's check if this virtual reality is real or just a scam as rumors are gossiping. Carrying that nervous feeling, she pressed the button. I'm pressing it, log in. Behind Hebyul, a very strange light suddenly burst forth. She let out a thoroughly bewildered gasp. What in the world is this? At that exact moment, the hero summoning array emitted a similar light. A female mage sternly announced, The first hero has arrived, everyone let's begin. Hebyul, over on her end, hazily rubbed her eyes. Startled, she looked at the strange surrounding space. Where on earth am I? Hebyul immediately informed her viewers, Everyone, does anyone see this? I am actually inside virtual reality. She began examining the simulation screen in front of her. Looks like a character customization room, let's see. Hebyul muttered, The races I can choose from are human, elf, dwarf, and orc. Eagerly selecting her setup, she chirped, First I'll pick the most beautiful race, elf. I'll also adjust the chest to be a bit bigger. Right after selecting, Hebyul was swiftly teleported elsewhere. The very first thing she did was admire herself and brag, Look everyone, I've turned into an elf. Ignoring how wildly the comment section was exploding, Hebyul mused, Anyway, is this place really Arsalan? Emotionally clutching her face, she screamed, I'm losing my mind, I love this so much. Hebyul stammered tremblingly, I'm actually in virtual reality now, but where on earth should I go next? Right at that moment, a hand suddenly reached out from somewhere. The starting village of Avent is over that way. She instinctively turned her head, Thank you. The moment she saw the other person, Hebyul's eyes couldn't help but widen. Kim Jinwoo stood bathed in a dreamy, radiant sunlight as if glowing. If you don't know the way, would you like to go with me? He introduced himself with a straight face inside Leon's body. My name is Leon. The event village was extremely lively at that moment. A brown-haired guy excitedly clapped in the middle of the street. Lee Jinwoo is an absolute god. While a black-haired guy who saw this casually invited him, Hey buddy, want to go grinding levels together? In another corner, another new player actively walked up to ask those around him, Excuse me, do you know where this is? I was clearly fighting the heavenly demon, but when I woke up, the person being questioned also gave him a hazy look. Is this some kind of martial arts roleplay? Hebyul had managed to enter the village by now, momentarily unable to hold back her exclamation. It's only been a moment and there are already this many people. Looking around clumsily, she thought, I've made it to the village, but I have no idea where to go next. I can just ask the guard, right? She eagerly hurried over, Excuse me. The guard, upon seeing Hebyul, looked slightly startled. A hero. He raised his hand to clear his throat, telling himself, Just stick to the script naturally. Clearing his lungs, the guard instantly put on his most enthusiastic, welcoming expression. The event village always welcomes heroes. First, please state your name. She paused for a beat, My name. But very quickly, Hebyul smiled and replied, Is this where I enter my nickname? Then I'll use Hebyul. Right as she finished speaking, a game system notification suddenly popped up, making her excitedly gush, I've got a name now. Yet Hebyul curiously asked him, Everything feels so natural, are you even a player? The guard mechanically repeated his old line, The event village always welcomes heroes. leading Hebyul to naturally conclude, guess he really is an NPC. She awkwardly tested the waters, do you have any quests or anything? At that moment he pointed, as expected of a hero looking for quests the moment you arrive. The guard evenly guided Hebyul, please head over to the Adventurers Guild that way. She excitedly cheered, thank you so much. Seeing the comment section explode once again over the guard's good looks, Hebyul couldn't help but chime in, seriously though. Before unconsciously remembering Kim Jinwoo, the moment we reached the village gates he just walked off. With that kind of aura, I really don't think he's a player. To break the boredom, Hebyul chatted with her viewers as she walked, feels more like an NPC. Oh well, I'm sure we'll get more clues about him once we start doing quests, right? Kim Jinwoo's soul was observing everything from above, thinking, the player's reactions to Leon are pretty good. If that idiot could hear this, he'd probably be thrilled. With that thought, he began using his supernatural senses to probe. Alright, let's see if she has any useful traits. Traits were the power of the soul that all earthlings like Kim Jinwoo possessed. The essence of a soul was built from the number of years a person had lived and the experiences accumulated within it. Traits didn't appear on a player's status window, but when they clicked on a talent within a trait, the growth rate would be accelerated thanks to Aaron's skill. After appraising her attributes, Kim Jinwoo partially realized, as expected, most of them are D or E rank. But his gaze suddenly flashed with a hint of surprise. It turned out Hebyul's social evolution trait had caught Kim Jinwoo's attention, an A-rank trait for a brand new player. He instinctively retraced his memory of their conversation not long ago, thinking, she said she's a streamer named Hebyul, right? Her long-term streaming career must have forged that trait. Kim Jinwoo vaguely grasped the girl's exceptional potential, thinking social evolution doesn't just work on humans but also on monsters, deities, and spirits. If she nurtures that trait properly, she could take the lead in purifying this place. Over on Hebyul's side, she had finally reached the place called the Adventurers Guild, a branch located in the event village. Curious, she pushed the door open and walked in. So this is the Adventurers Guild. The interior scenery was so sparkling that Hebyul couldn't help but gasp out loud. The very next second, an enthusiastic voice rang out, welcome hero. Tia played the receptionist role to absolute perfection. My name is Tia, a registration clerk. Welcome to the Adventurers Guild's Event Village branch. Hebyul couldn't help but be mesmerized by the other person's beauty, thinking she is gorgeous. Tia smiled warmly, when you join the Adventurers Guild you'll receive plenty of benefits. If you're a beginner, don't worry about your status, just register. Hebyul rushed forward hastily. Yes, I will, I'll register right now. Afterwards, Tia thoughtfully helped Hebyul complete the beginner registration process. Once finished, she pulled out a pouch of items and placed it on the desk. Hero of Acadia, your adventure registration is complete. Check your schedule and try to complete your goals. This is your starter gear. Hebyul blankly asked back, starter gear. Tia meticulously listed them out without missing a beat. An appraisal notebook, a spatial pouch, your inventory, and some startup funds. We also provide basic weapons at the armory, so please go pick yours up. Hebyul smiled cheerfully. Thank you, pretty big sister. Tia responded with a head pat and a friendly smile. Thank you, sweetie. Kim Jinwoo was still floating in the air observing everyone. Midway through, he suddenly heard Tia bragging via telepathy. I just met a hero named Hebyul and she looks extremely adorable, makes me want to torture her so bad. She grew increasingly excited to the point her wording went out of control. I want to quickly plunge her into misery just to see her eyes fill with tears. Are all summoned heroes this warped? Who knows, at this rate we even managed to drag a genuine veteran from another world over here. Kim Jinwoo asked in astonishment, what do you mean a veteran? Right at that moment, 3 people walked into the registration hall. The beefiest one grandiosely roared, I have descended. The blonde one showed a displeased expression. How boring, this world is so dull I could die of boredom. And the remaining old man in the group acted equally arrogant. Hey boy, bring me some noodles and alcohol fast. These lunatics officially left Tia frozen like a statue. She awkwardly reported, Jinwoo, some weird people have arrived here. The brawny, pink-haired guy cluelessly blurted out, crap, we don't have any script. Kim Jinwoo gave a random, contextless reply, good job, Tia blankly asked back, President Jinwoo. In the next second they started raising hell, causing her to panic. Don't eat the request form. Grab it back from him, hurry. Don't roll down the stairs, there are no secret passages down there, your skull's going to crack in half. I'm not your older sister and I'm not your mom either. Hebyul laughed crying as she commented, everyone you get a title if you fluster Tia. 3 weeks have passed and we still haven't found anyone. searching for someone brave enough to go tease the pretty big sister. Tia, having been thoroughly hassled to exhaustion, could only offer a bitter smile for a moment. She crossed her arms and hugged herself, muttering, "Someday I'll get to see it." The sight of heroes breaking down and crying miserably. The smile on Tia's face at that moment was terrifying. If I can see that sight, I'm willing to sacrifice all their hair. A new order had been established across the world, with apology and retraction broadcasts airing continuously. A prime example was a sincere bowing posture on a broadcast. "I apologize. From the very beginning, no, even before that I doubted this situation. I created a massive public wave with over-the-line comments and unverified claims, and I am deeply sorry. From now on, I will reflect on my own behavior." Things had become so serious that many countries rushed to air emergency programs about something they had never even heard of before. Deep down, everyone knew clearly if they didn't sync up with this change, they would be left behind forever. This was a fate they had no choice but to accept. During the first week since the release of Arsalan's Saga, Kim Jinwoo spoke up in a friendly tone, "Good morning, everyone," and an employee immediately replied cheerfully, "Good morning, President." Another person excitedly asked, "President, have you seen all those delivery trucks parked in front of the company?" He nodded very quickly. "There are a lot of trucks today too." Dongxian laughed as he said, "It's not just me. Even the youngest kids in the team have turned off their phones. We're getting flooded with calls, everyone's begging for a Soul Link slot." Kim Jinwoo burst into a hearty laugh upon hearing that. Everyone's worked hard. Then he continued asking, "So when can we roll out the next supplementary batch?" Dongxian slowly replied, "We'll open pre-orders on Monday as planned. The initial batch had 50,000 units, but we might increase it." Kim Jinwoo instantly calculated in his head, 50,000 heroes. With that many, we can finally carry out our first pacification of the eroded region. It's time to start preparing. With that thought, he smiled with narrowed eyes. "Get ready to drop the main storyline release soon." Dongxian excitedly replied, "Oh, so Leon is finally making his debut." The female employee was equally thrilled. "Leon is coming out." He eagerly suggested, "Boss, if that's the case, can you check my product pitch for Leon's merchandise? We've got keychains, stickers, body pillows, and figures all ready to go." She narrowed her eyes and shouted, "I want one too." The scene cut to Kim Jinwoo standing in front of a mirror muttering to himself, "Leon, is he really that bad?" He raised an eyebrow slightly. "All right, he actually is absurdly handsome." Tiras had stepped up behind him at some point. "I really went a bit overboard, how embarrassing." Kim Jinwoo resignedly said, "Hey, knock before entering." She stepped closer and whispered, "Prince Leon," or rather the tragic traveler, looking into those sorrowful eyes, there must be a hidden story behind them. Kim Jinwoo sighed wearily, "So you're planning to stay in character even all the way in here?" Finished speaking, Tiras jumped right in front of his face. She continued rambling with a bizarre expression. "O traveler with sorrowful eyes carrying the light of tragedy." Tiras pretended to play the role of Leon. "Would you like to listen to my story, benefactor?" Kim Jinwoo miserably uttered, "Please stop using that tone." He tiredly brought a hand up to support his forehead. "I'm already exhausted." "Anyway, are there any good hunting grounds nearby for the heroes to level up?" Tiras thought for a moment and softly replied, "As far as I know, no. If you mean the area outside Chansik's daughter's territory, there isn't one." Hearing that, he casually turned around and walked off. "So we don't have any private hunting grounds to borrow from Doom, huh?" Kim Jinwoo walked away immediately after saying that. He stepped into Doom all by himself. Up in the sky, the blood-red moon still hung suspended. Down below, Kim Jinwoo was surrounded by monsters trying to attack, but they were blocked by his barrier. He frowned and glanced around. This place still feels really annoying. Kim Jinwoo raised his magic staff, emitting a stream of light. "We have guests and you won't even come out to greet them." His face hardened as he pointed his magic staff forward. Knock, knock. A burst of flames erupted from the staff, creating a heaven-shaking explosion. The previous attack directly destroyed the surrounding land, forming a valley stretching out like a pre-drawn path. Great magic. Doorbell. Suddenly, a wave of purple energy gathered midair. "You've arrived." An ominous laugh echoed. "Even if you didn't make such a fuss, I already knew you were here." The Lord of Corrosion appeared, looking down at Kim Jinwoo with a smile. "Did you finally come to offer up your soul?" Kim Jinwoo thought to himself, Ella's priests and the noble holy knights all fell before this creature. Their souls were torn apart and corrupted, turning them into slaves unable to escape the core of corrosion. He gripped his staff and charged forward. That's why I've been fighting alone until now. It was a lonely and solitary battle beyond endurance, and in the end, I failed. It smiled mockingly, looking down. Accept your fate, you've already lost. How much longer do you think that pathetic barrier will protect you? The corners of Kim Jinwoo's mouth curled up into a smile. The Lord of Corrosion noticed this and asked with immense suspicion, "Is there something funny?" He raised his head and replied, "Nothing, I just feel sorry for you." Kim Jinwoo pointed at it. The Lord of Corrosion cannot move away from the center of its own territory. If you had devoured enough land to raise your rank, it might have been different, but you still haven't managed to do that. The Lord of Corrosion shouted in extreme anger, "You bastard, did you come here just to mock me?" He turned around and walked away. "Of course not, I'm not that free." Kim Jinwoo scanned his surroundings. It should be around here. Down below, a village with many figures came into view. Found it. They were hideous-looking goblins lingering around a level 1 corrupted demon zone. The Lord of Corrosion stepped forward, chuckling as it looked down. "You know damn well it's useless to destroy those. Even if you use magic powerful enough to wipe them out, they'll soon be reborn inside the corrosion zone." Kim Jinwoo raised his magic staff high. "If it were just me alone, that would be true." He slammed his staff hard against the ground, causing a surge of power to erupt. A magic array with massive bolts of lightning poured down violently toward the lower level. Kim Jinwoo flicked his wrist slightly. The goblins stared up at the sky in utter shock. Right after that, the entire formation launched straight up into the air. The Corrosion Lord shouted in sheer disbelief, "Spatial magic, what the hell are you plotting?" Kim Jinwoo waved a hand dismissively and said, "Just borrowing a few of them for a sec. Make sure to restock later, all right?" As it roared in fury. Glancing back at the Corrosion Lord, he added, "And from now on, you're the mid-boss for Act 1 of the Arsalan saga. Hope you put on a good show." Kim Jinwoo's retreating back suddenly froze, as if he had just remembered something. Clenching his hand into a fist and extending it, he muttered, "If you're gonna borrow someone's stuff, you gotta pay a fee, you know." The Corrosion Lord stared skeptically at his outstretched hand. Kim Jinwoo flashed a friendly finger with a smug, arrogant expression and said, "Keep the change." Gnashing its teeth in sheer rage, the Corrosion Lord growled, "You bastard." It lashed out at Kim Jinwoo repeatedly, but he casually threw up a shield and strolled away, yelling, "I'll kill you, you damn mage, get back here." The scene quickly cuts to an ecological forest. Namgung marched ahead excitedly, asking, "Goblin subjugation? We've finally got a real mission." While Boldajang trailed behind, replying, "Sister Tia said those goblins drop rare swords." Walking along without paying attention to the chilly draft under his feet, Namgung muttered, "They should be showing up any second now." The deeper the three of them ventured into the forest, the more palpable the chill became. Looking up in utter confusion, Hebiel stammered, "What is this? Why did it suddenly get so dark?" While the live viewing chat went wild with frantic speculation. Suddenly, a grotesque purple foot stepped into view. Goblins with glowing red eyes gripped their weapons and marched toward them. Namgung stared in shock and called out, "Goblins, but they're huge and purple. Are these elite monsters?" All at once, a goblin let out a furious roar. Seeing this, Namgung struck a pose, drew his sword with a smug grin, and declared, "They're still just pathetic little runts. I'll finish this in 3 strokes." But before he could even react, the creature lunged forward to attack. Namgung's eyes shrank in sheer disbelief as he gasped, "Way too fast." The goblin zipped right past him, delivering a lightning-fast slash. The 2 teammates behind him were horrified to see their companion fall. Furious, Boldajang swung his staff to conjure a surge of magical fire, shouting, "You bastards, fireball." A massive magic circle flared to life, triggering a rather large explosion. Boldajang smiled with absolute confidence, thinking, "Did that get him?" While the chat erupted in a frenzy, "Wait a second." Suddenly, a giant Dao burst out from the thick smoke. The goblin lunged forward, running Boldajang through with its spear, sending the chat into absolute chaos. "Wait, why is a mage casting a resurrection chant? Resurrection is the ultimate truth in every game. Is this guy actually an idiot?" Raising her bow high, Hebiel stammered, "Are they all dead?" As the chat exploded further, "They're so fast, they've definitely gotta be elite monsters. This is bad, Hebiel, run. What is that guy even doing? If you die, you can't log back in for an hour. This game is insane. It's scarier than a horror movie." Glaring at the grotesque goblins, the young woman thought to herself, "These aren't normal goblins. We can't win this." Without warning, the monsters lunged straight at her. Hebiel shrieked in absolute panic. Out of nowhere, a sword arc flashed from behind. A figure dashed forward, stepping right in front of her. Before the goblins even realized what had happened, they were instantly obliterated on the spot. Hebiel stared in stunned disbelief at the back of the figure standing before her. He slowly turned around, smiled, and said, "We meet again, hero." Kim Jinwoo broke into a bright grin and asked, "Is everyone all right?" World-class luxury watches operate entirely through intricate components fitting together with absolute precision. Every tiny part, meticulously crafted by master watchmakers, functions without a single flaw, proving the true value of a masterpiece. Right here, Leon's body was much the same. Blessed with a flawless physical constitution, intricately channeled through 24 layers of advanced magic, brought to life by the dedication and hands of Arsalan artisans. It was flawlessly immaculate, radiating a brilliant glow, exuding a pleasant fragrance, and reinforced by 21 other spells. Hebiel quickly raised a hand to block the dazzling radiance pouring off him, muttering, "He's shining way too bright." A comment popped up in the chat reminding everyone to snap out of it, and the streamer suddenly jolted awake. A viewer just donated 10 won. Wake up, stop drooling, how embarrassing, I didn't even realize I was doing it. With a devastatingly handsome smile, Kim Jinwoo stepped closer and asked, "Are you all right? Are you hurt anywhere?" While the chat completely lost its mind. "Didn't you just act like a keyboard warrior a second ago?" Hebiel stammered out a hasty reply, "Why yeah, I'm fine," prompting him to deftly weave a spell as he said, "I'll cast a healing spell on you just in case. Can't be too careful." Suddenly, a golden aura enveloped her, leaving her utterly startled. "Huh!" The chat went even wilder. "Healing magic? Are you kidding me? You can't learn that at the vocational training center. Can we learn that too? Wait, what?" Blushing fiercely, Hebiel inspected her own body, thinking, "I wasn't even hurt, but I can actually feel the energy surging through me." Suddenly, she let out a loud, excited shriek as a 100,000 won donation flashed across her screen from a generous patron. Overjoyed to the point of madness, Hebiel cheered, "100 grand from our generous donor. Here comes your 10-streak wink." The moment she remembered Kim Jinwoo standing right next to her watching, she instantly turned to stone. Lowering his voice, he murmured, "Oh dear." Kim Jinwoo quickly placed a hand on her head and began casting magic, saying, "Looks like you took a nasty blow to the head. I'll heal you right away, poor thing," causing her to desperately protest, "No, I didn't get hit." Suddenly, a message window popped up, stunning her as the chat piled on. Anonymous user donated 10,000 won. This is gonna be good. Anonymous user 2 donated 50,000 won. I'll chip in 200,000 if you pull it off. Oh lord. Kim Jinwoo cast a sympathetic gaze at Hebiel, thinking, yeah, her head is definitely scrambled. Suddenly, a system window materialized. The Archmage has sponsored the quest. Hebiel dropped her jaw in sheer shock. 5 million. Throwing her arms up to form bunny ears on her head, she started to hop. Crimson with humiliation, she launched into bizarre little dance moves, singing, "Jump, your very own cute bunny is here just for you. Your adorable bunny has suddenly appeared." The second she finished, she whipped her head away in absolute mortification, thinking, "Don't look at me with those eyes." While Kim Jinwoo stood off to the side, marveling internally, so this is capitalism. The power of money truly is grand. Smiling warmly, he reached out a hand and said, "Your head definitely needs a proper checkup at the temple. Let's get to a safe place first." While Hebiel wept internally, wondering how on earth to explain herself, "I told you I didn't get hit in the head." And thus birthed the greatest scene of the year, voted on not just by viewers but by the entire streaming platform. The scene cut to nighttime, with Hebiel trailing a few steps behind, thinking, even his back looks gorgeous. Without warning, he turned around, noticing the girl lagging behind. Smiling gently, he offered a soft reminder, "We're here, watch your step." Hebiel's face flushed bright red as she stammered, "Why yes, thank you for worrying about me." While the chat exploded yet again, "Is acting all clingy and shy in front of handsome guys scientifically proven to work? Wait, Leon doesn't even have a player info window pop up. Is he the main character? Look at those looks and stats, he's 100% the protagonist." Turning back with a smile, Kim Jinwoo said, "The goblins probably won't chase us all the way out here," to which she replied with a smile, "Yeah." Hebiel bowed a full 180 degrees and blurted out, "Thank you for saving me. It's a bit late for proper introductions, but I'm Hebiel," prompting Kim Jinwoo to extend a hand with a smile and introduce himself. "I'm Leon, a traveler." He smoothly whipped up a ready-made excuse, saying, "I'm traveling to investigate the corrosion. That's when I discovered monsters corrupted by it appearing around Avent. I want to believe the magical barrier is still holding strong, but I'm afraid a sinister plot is underway. Hearing this, Hebiel quickly asked, were those purple goblins caused by the corrosion too? To which he replied promptly, indeed, they've been tainted by it. Special note, Hebiel. Suddenly Kim Jinwoo's eyes lit up brightly. Triggering his probing skill, he thought to herself, her favorability rating is definitely S rank. She might just become the central figure of this expedition. Extending a hand in an inviting gesture, Kim Jinwoo pleaded, my strength alone is not enough. I implore you, warrior, please eradicate the corrupted goblins. A system window swiftly blinked into view, Leon's request, impending conspiracy. Favorability increased and main storyline unlocked. Hebiel's eyes went wide in pure astonishment. We finally got a main quest. Am I supposed to assemble a subjugation force? She began to recount her worries internally. Even if I tried, is gathering 200 people actually feasible? Between gathering herbs and wandering around, everyone's way too busy with their own stuff. Hebiel clenched her fists tight. No, I have to make this happen because this is Leon's request. Her hands firmly grasped his. With a face as red as a ripe tomato, Hebiel answered, I'll do my absolute best. After handing Hebiel her first mission, Kim Jinwoo threw himself into action in his role as Leon, cheering from the sidelines in a booming voice. Warrior, I'll provide cover for you. He helped the warriors with their hunting, earning a flurry of grateful cries. Thank you, my lord. By the end of the day, he was smiling and praising the girls. It's quite impressive that you gathered this many herbs. Even the alchemists in Avant would struggle to pull this off. Leaving one girl to beam internally, Leon praised me as he lent a hand with the harvest. Kim Jinwoo hauled out a large pouch and announced, here are various medicines and items. A small token of my appreciation for you warriors. The recipients looked deeply worried as they protested. Is it really okay to give all this away, Leon? You won't have anything left for yourself. Kim Jinwoo broke into a radiant smile, extending his hands generously. I'll be fine, don't I still have all of you? Heartwarming stories about Leon began flooding community boards everywhere. One girl who had been too terrified to even step outside her room suddenly thought of Leon. He had called her a warrior, so she decided to muster all the courage she had to live up to that title. When she finally opened her door and stepped outside, her mother pulled her into a tight embrace and wept, leaving the girl racked with guilt as her heart ached most of all to see her mother blaming herself. She vowed to herself, I'm a warrior, so I'm not going to live pathetically anymore. I'll go find a job and pay off my debts, and since a bunch of newbies are about to flood into Arsalan, I'll take care of warriors just like me too. The comments rolled in, brilliant. Now that is a true warrior, someone who summons up their courage, a true warrior. This is the kind of positive feedback loop playing this game is all about. Lord Leon, he's a god. Meanwhile, Kim Jinwoo stared down at his tablet with a satisfied smile, thinking, all that hard work walking around really paid off. They're getting motivated and the atmosphere is great. At this rate, the subjugation force will assemble in no time. Should I accelerate the plan just a little bit? He began packing briskly toward a certain destination. The door to the room slowly swung open. Kim Jinwoo strode into the gleaming chamber. Tiras looked up in mild surprise and greeted him. You've returned, master. He walked right up to her to check on the situation, asking, how's the status of the control device? To which she gently replied, it's connected seamlessly. The magic tower acts as an intermediary, allowing us to control the details from right here. Smiling as he looked up, Kim Jinwoo praised, good. I can feel the energy of the corruption core behind this temporary core. Gazing upward, he thought to himself, if the goblins start appearing more frequently, they'll form that subjugation force even faster. Without turning around, Kim Jinwoo issued an order, Tia, bring Hasman, Hallen, and the key NPCs here, prompting her quick response, right away, my lord. May I ask why you're gathering them? The corners of Kim Jinwoo's mouth curled up. It's time for you people. With a twisted glint in his eyes and a sickly smile, he finished, to transform into goblins. Right on cue, Hasman and Hallen eagerly sidled up to him and asked, you called for us, my lord. We heard there's something we can do for Arsalan. We'll help out with everything we've got. Forcing Kim Jinwoo to issue a helpless reprimand, stop shoving your faces right up against mine, please just sit down. The two of them quickly complied, asking, what kind of work are we talking about? We'll do our best to assist. To which he looked at them and said, Tia didn't tell you guys? Well, I'll explain as soon as Tia gets here. Suddenly, a voice from behind made him jump. I'm right here, Jinwoo. Tia stepped forward with dark circles under her eyes, prompting him to shriek in sheer terror. What the hell? Glaring at her in utter exasperation, Kim Jinwoo snapped, "Cut it out! Is invading other people's personal space the latest trend or something? You scared the living daylights out of me." Looking at her disheveled and exhausted state, he asked, "Anyway, what happened to you? Is something wrong?" Tia turned on him with a sarcastic edge. "Is something wrong? Are you seriously asking me that?" Enraged, she recounted, "Why does the Magic Tower keep churning out such completely useless titles? That damned hero, that hero said if I did a good job, I'd get a title. He spent the entire day at the Adventurers Guild pulling stupid pranks right in front of my face. He kept causing a ruckus and stealing things," causing Kim Jinwoo to offer some helpless damage control. "Calm down." She ranted on furiously, "Please stop wasting precious magic stone energy on such absurd nonsense." "I get it, all right," leaving him to offer a sheepish laugh. "I know, I'm sorry." Kim Jinwoo turned his attention back to the other two men and asked, "How have things been with Hallen and Hasman lately?" Hallen lowered his head and explained, "The heroes are starting to suspect my true identity. I was just sitting there quietly doing my job, but they were openly discussing whether they should just murder me." Hasman bowed his head as well, chiming in, "Same here. They don't have a damn clue what's actually going on, yet they act like they know everything." The atmosphere in the room instantly plunged into gloomy depression. Looking up, Tia asked, "So why did you call us here?" To which Kim Jinwoo quickly answered, "Tiras, didn't you tell them? Because I wanted a front row seat to everyone's reactions. You guys really are one of a kind." He held out a gaming controller. "Here, take these." Tia took one, turned it over in her hands and asked, "What is this?" Prompting his swift explanation, "A goblin controller. The three of you are going to transform into goblins and slaughter the heroes to help them grind experience." Hearing this, Tia nearly burst into tears as she tried to hand it back. "What? Now you want us to stoop so low as to control those filthy creatures? And on top of that, we have to turn into goblins and get trampled and killed by heroes? This is going way too far." He quickly reached out to stop her, insisting, "It's all for Arsalan. The heroes need to be wiped out so the subjugation force gets formed faster." Tia flashed a cunning, sly grin. "It's all for Arsalan. The heroes need to be wiped out so the subjugation force gets formed faster. Besides, this actually looks kind of fun. How do you use it?" Prompting Kim Jinwoo to reply with a heavy sigh, "I'll explain. The directional pad on the left is for movement and pressing the buttons on the right executes designated actions. The controls have been simplified so it shouldn't be too hard." He waved a hand dismissively. "I'll turn on the display screen, give it a try." Tia looked up at the screen and began testing the controls. Like this. The goblin on the screen started moving, leaving her thrilled. "It's moving." Hallen stepped closer out of curiosity, muttering, "This is actually pretty cool." As Kim Jinwoo smiled and said, "You're doing great," prompting a delighted Tia to declare, "Just leave it to me. I'll give these heroes so much extra motivation we'll have a massive subjugation army in no time." Hallen glanced over and asked, "Are you actually enjoying this?" To which Tia retorted cheerfully, "It feels pretty great. Sometimes you just want to control completely conscious people and make them dance to your tune." Clearing his throat loudly, Hallen chimed in, "My lord, I'm by myself practically every day. I have tons of free time." While Hasman added from the side, "Strategy and tactics happen to be my specialty too." Kim Jinwoo smiled and conceded, "All right, I'll trust you guys to handle this." Clutching their controllers, the group beamed with excitement. "It can even backpedal. Hey, looks like I'm not lonely anymore." Kim Jinwoo could only stare in speechless amusement as they laughed and joked among themselves. "What an ugly little creature. See, having this around makes a guy like me look not half bad." Kim Jinwoo quickly zoomed his perspective in and snapped a screenshot. The photo, capturing everyone laughing and joking together, was saved instantly. Without a moment's hesitation, he set it as his phone wallpaper. Kim Jinwoo smiled warmly as he gazed at the happy, bustling snapshot. He thought to himself, once the corrupted goblins are defeated, the lowest tier invasion will be unveiled, marking the official start of Act 1 in the main storyline. Setting his phone down on the dining table with a smile, he mused, Well then, what if we time the launch of Soul Link's second wave to coincide with that? Suddenly, a loud slam echoed across the table. Everyone sitting around the dining table jolted to their feet in unison. They all fell completely silent, copying each other's exact posture. After that, everyone scattered in different directions without a single word. Kim Jinwoo glanced in their direction, questioning his own existence. What the heck? A while later in Arsalan, shouts echoed out, "Join the Goblin Subjugation Squad," looking for top-tier players to wipe out those bastards. The streets were extremely bustling with activity. "Let's team up. I saw the Adventurers Guild just posted a recruitment notice. We definitely have to wipe out those scumbags. I just managed to secure a spot in a party too." My herbs, 10 hours of hard work went down the drain in the blink of an eye. Kim Jinwoo stood before this loud, bustling scene, feeling utterly bewildered by the world. Breaking out in a cold sweat, he blankly asked, "What on earth is going on out here?" At that moment, an ugly goblin lunged forward. Faint voices rang out, "Support go, leave it to me." The warrior currently in combat struggled desperately to hold his ground. Are they out of their minds? Since when do goblins know how to use magic? His eyes turned upward in utter shock. Another goblin leaped down from above straight onto his head. At that moment, Tia laughed with malicious glee. "How does it taste?" They cheerfully high-fived to celebrate. That synergy was top-notch. "I knew it." As Kim Jinwoo stepped in and spoke up, "Turns out the three of you were behind this." Tiras turned to him with an exhausted expression and asked, "You're here, master." He looked at their gaming-addicted faces and thought to himself, "Their faces look completely haggard. Have they been playing this non-stop without sleeping? It doesn't look much like they're nurturing heroes, more like they're torturing them instead. Well, must be my imagination." An excited scream rang out again, "Caught another foolish hero. Awesome!" Leaving Kim Jinwoo firm in his thoughts, "She's definitely torturing them." He stepped closer and asked, "Has the goblin data just been updated?" While Tia ignored him, completely engrossed in controlling the game. Die, all you bastards." The screen displayed some stats. Level 10, Hero Slayer, corrupted goblin race due to invasion. Combat record, 24 minutes ago eliminated the thief, 12 minutes ago eliminated the pickpocket, 1 minute ago eliminated the girl who wrestled a bear. He looked at the scene in the game and thought, Hero Slayer, don't tell me that title was handed down by the Magic Tower too. Just how many heroes have you killed? Hallen turned around to suggest, "Tia, I think it's time we execute that part." And she cheerfully replied, "You're right, I almost forgot the most important part." On the screen, a goblin walked up to the down man. It placed its foot right on top of the hero's head. After that, the goblin continuously brandished the weapon in its hand. The other people witnessing this scene grew extremely furious. "Hey, look over there. Are they stepping on our teammate? Those damn goblins have really lost their minds." Tia was in a state of supreme bliss at that moment. "What can you pathetic heroes possibly do against us? Absolutely nothing, right?" Kim Jinwoo stood off to the side, feeling helpless. Where on earth did they learn those tricks from? He smiled to himself. This should be stimulating enough. The result was just as expected, as weapons quickly raised in unison all around. The impact spread wider and stronger than anticipated. Kim Jinwoo transformed back into a handsome young man, smirking. Now the real show begins. He strode forward with an imposing, majestic aura. Kim Jinwoo wore a determined smile. Time to go. At that moment, Thompson stared hard at the person across from him and asked, "Yurugum, my friend, are you really planning to go all the way with this?" Hearing that, the old man stood up straight with a grumpy expression and replied, "Good grief, you talk too much. I'm ready, let's start," prompting Thompson to laugh and say, "Look how confident you are." The old man raised his large hammer high while speaking. "Let's see if you can keep that look on your face after we're done." Next, he let out a loud roar and smashed it hard against the iron shield resting on the table. Instantly, it flared up with a brilliant light. A second later, it burst outward in an explosion. Once finished, Thompson chuckled teasingly. "My hand slipped, my bad, what a pity," as the system immediately announced, "Enhancement failed. Iron Shield +4, leaving Yurugum across the table staring blankly. The old man cheerfully added a few more words. "At least you still kept the shield, honestly you're lucky," which made Yurugum finally realize the situation as he clutched his head and wailed, "Damn it, my +4 shield." At that moment, Hebiel walked over and asked inquisitively, "Yurugum, are you seriously going to enhance your gear right on the eve of the expedition?" As the man started crying and whining, Hebiel, "Console me please, my enhancement failed." Hearing that, the girl looked at him with disdain. "You absolute dopamine addict. It took you forever just to get it to +4 after 20 attempts and now you're messing with it again. Hebiel immediately added, I heard the success rate to reach +5 is only 5%. As Yurugum turned back and snapped, that's not enough. This dopamine gentleman needs a much stronger dose than that. On the other side, Thompson chimed in with a teasing jab. Surely you aren't giving up here, are you? Is a hero's courage really that weak? Yurugum picked up his iron shield and declared with a booming, determined voice, let's do it one more time, I'm betting my entire fortune on this. While Hebiel, on the other hand, knitted her brows in exhaustion and muttered, I can't bear to watch this anymore. And Thompson laughed cheerfully. That's the spirit, exactly what I expect from a hero. While Hebiel whispered a reminder from the side, excuse me, we're about to set out soon, what if your gear breaks? Right on cue, a voice called out from behind, Hebiel, there you are. Turning around, she saw Kim Jinwoo and greeted him, Leon, and he cheerfully praised, you've grown a lot since the last time we met. Hebiel shyly approached and asked, what wind blew you over here? With Kim Jinwoo smiling as he replied, before we head out to subjugate the goblins, I'm taking a walk around the village to check on how everyone is doing. He gently explained further, since I'm the one who requested this, I wanted to see if I could be of any help to the heroes. Hebiel admiringly blurted out, our Leon is so considerate. From behind, Yurugum suddenly leaped forward and shouted, Leon! Causing her to panic and scream, you scared the life out of me. Without hesitation, the man immediately pleaded in tears, please, you have to help me, I'm begging you. Leaving Kim Jinwoo blankly asking, and who might this be? Hebiel quickly introduced him. This is Yurugum, the tank of our party. As you can see, he's a dopamine addict, an enhancement addict. Hearing that, he nodded understandingly and replied, I see, but is there anything I can help with? To which Yurugum eagerly pointed at the shield and said, just stand right here while I do the enhancement, that's all. Prompting Hebiel to give a scornful evaluation, are you seriously using Leon as a good luck charm? The man didn't care and immediately issued the order, all right Thompson, let's do it, with the old man giving a cheerful thumbs up, you got it. At this point, Kim Jinwoo obliged and stepped closer while Yurugum closed his eyes and clenched his fists in prayer. Thompson raised his large hammer to prepare for the strike. A second later, he brought it down hard, creating a loud bang. Instantly, the iron shield flared with a powerful glow. Right away, the system popped up a notification, enhancement successful, iron shield +5, while a brand new iron shield was unveiled at the same time. Seeing this, Yurugum laughed in triumph, I got the server's very first +5 enhanced item and its stats are top tier. As he bowed repeatedly, thank you so much, everything is thanks to you, Leon. With Kim Jinwoo smiling awkwardly, I didn't really do anything. The man glanced around and teased, Hebiel, do you see this +5 shield? Where did she go anyway? Or maybe losers without +5 gear can't even see it. Leaving short little Hebiel down below gritting her teeth in bitter frustration, this guy. When the system suddenly chimed in with another notification. User has achieved sub-goal, successful enhancement to +5. Reward 1,000,001, causing Hebiel to gasp in admiration, no way, seriously. Refusing to lose, she turned back and aggressively requested, Leon, please rub my bow just once. With Kim Jinwoo cheerfully answering, of course, I hope it succeeds. Hebiel immediately placed her bow on the table and pleaded earnestly, Thompson, please enhance it. Instantly, the system announced, enhancement successful, floral wood bow +5, leaving even Hebiel in utter disbelief as she blurted out, no way, it even hit the max stat bonus. Magic is actually real. Hebiel happily jumped up and down holding her bow, I'm so happy, Leon, I love you so much. As someone else walked up to Kim Jinwoo and called out, Leon. Following that, a crowd of villagers smiled gently and chimed in, please rub my weapon too, Leon. My turn next, please. He immediately answered cheerfully, sure, that's not hard at all, while Thompson sat frozen in complete shock. Kim Jinwoo turned back with a smile and muttered to himself, have fun with that pile, while the old man's eyes rolled back until they were completely white and stiff, weakly crying out, save me. Hebiel firmly spoke up, all right, Leon Thompson, we're counting on both of you, it's time to upgrade. Come on, it's crowded here, so please line up in an orderly fashion. Just a few seconds later, the system continuously blasted notifications of successful enhancement. Finished at last, Thompson sat in a corner, completely drained and dead-eyed as he muttered, I am totally exhausted. Hebiel walked beside him, cheerfully praising, Leon, your buff is seriously top tier. While Kim Jinwoo humbly replied, not at all, it's just that the blacksmith has exceptional skills. whereas Yurugum slumped in depression thinking my title of server's first +5 enhancer lost all its value in the blink of an eye. Up ahead, someone suddenly appeared and called out joyfully, Hebyul, Yurugum, I heard you guys successfully enhanced your gear. He pulled out a small guitar and suggested, I composed a celebratory song for you guys, want to listen? Leaving Hebyul helpless as she sighed, the romantic bard is here to ruin the mood. Tron began to sing, Congratulations, may your light reign supreme in the hammer. As Kim Jinwoo turned and asked softly, Do you know this guy? And Hebyul answered with an awkward smile, I have no idea how he even ended up joining our party. Whenever he's around, those crazy goblins don't even dare approach us. Hearing that, Kim Jinwoo suddenly realized, right, elf hearing is extremely sensitive. No wonder she couldn't hear me lately even when I called out right beside her. But the color of that soul felt eerily, strangely familiar. At that moment, Kim Jinwoo suddenly recalled his older brother's words, Jinwoo, the light of your soul is rainbow-colored. At the same time, a system notification popped up, Trait B, Unyielding Dream. He once dreamed of becoming a star but had to let go of the mic in despair. This time he will never fall no matter what happens. Hebyul sensed something was off and stepped closer to ask, Leon, is something wrong? With Kim Jinwoo softly replying, it's nothing. Suddenly, a voice rang out nearby, catching both of their attention, I'll take the lead so just keep quiet and follow me. Life Hunt sneered upon hearing this, scout dogs usually lead the way so I'll allow it, prompting the Grand Duke of the North to angrily shout, What? Has this bastard lost his damn mind? The two of them started bickering again as Lee Hyunseong chimed in with a taunt, Don't bark so fiercely, I'm just trying to teach things that keep running their mouths incorrectly. While Miyu gritted her teeth in anger and fired back, Look at that attitude, you wanna settle this right here and now. At that moment, Kim Jinwoo stepped closer and gently mediated, Please wait a moment heroes, we're about to set off, so instead why not save your strength to fight the goblins? Causing Miyu to call out in surprise, Leon, and Lee Hyunseong to say, Oh man, I let you see this embarrassing side of me again. Suddenly, Kim Jinwoo realized, wait a minute, these people look way too familiar. Familiar images quickly flashed through his mind, my grandfather and my older sister. Turns out that's grandfather's new body, but let's put that aside for a second. He recalled his older sister's gentle expressions, Jinwoo, I cooked some ramyun, want to eat some? Jinwoo, look at this, isn't it cute? Then he looked at Miyu currently screaming aggressively, Get your spirits up, you morons, wipe them out. Leaving him mentally exhausted, why did my older sister turn into this? Anyway, it was unbelievable that both of them had actually established guilds and become guild masters. Hunter and Valhalla. Kim Jinwoo knitted his brows in thought. To establish a guild during this event, you need 1,000 contribution points. Even playing without a single break, reaching 1,000 points is practically impossible. Is the Osung group actually operating normally or what? At that moment, the people behind him noticed him and cried out in surprise, It's Leon. Leon, you're here. Everyone chimed in simultaneously. We gathered here to wipe out the goblins. We rallied after hearing the request from you and Hebyul. He turned back and spoke politely, Thank you truly for responding to my request, with her gently replying, Of course, you helped us out after all. Then Kim Jinwoo read off names one by one. Neo Piro, Steel number 18, Honeypot is mine. Nananim, Lantnim, Lightning Shikhainim. Prompting some people to fangirl in awe, Leon just said my name. He gently offered a proposal, All of you have grown up wonderfully. Fighting alongside the heroes is my greatest honor. Will you grant me this privilege? Everyone cheered in unison, Of course, let's fight together. Smiling, Kim Jinwoo replied, Wonderful, let's move out. He took the lead and walked toward the city gates. At that moment, Haina spoke in a clear, resonant voice, Knights of Ella. She and the soldiers raised their swords high and shouted in unison, Greetings, heroes. Next, a firm, powerful foot stepped down onto the ground. Kim Jinwoo and everyone else marched aggressively outside. The time quickly turned to dusk, and the group was still marching vigorously. Yurugum looked around excitedly. This scenery is epic. The man cheerfully added, With scenery this nice, I suddenly crave a drink. While someone from behind enthusiastically suggested, I brought some fruit wine, want some? Nearby, Tron quickly whipped out a notepad and frantically scribbled. Looking at scenery this gorgeous, inspiration just keeps gushing out, gotta write it down before I forget. While Miyu grumbled irritably, Can you stop playing that weird heavy metal music? At this point, everyone's morale was extremely confident as Kim Jinwoo turned back to observe and thought, maybe because we treat this like a game, it doesn't feel too serious. He smiled to himself. No, this is enough. If we force them to fight, they'll be no different from forced laborers. From now on, let's keep selecting heroes, training them, helping them grow and fight. When a sudden voice called out, "My lord." Tia, sitting in the back, also yelled out excitedly, "We're ready too. The goblins have gotten stronger as well, look forward to it." The people in the back held up 2 fingers and cheerfully announced, "Hallen and Hasman went to prepare their part, and all the resting villagers are watching from our secret base." Hearing that, Kim Jinwoo smiled softly and replied, "Good, the people over here should be arriving soon too." Everyone quickly arrived at the foggy forest. He made a silent decision, time to start staging round 5. Everyone walked inside, casting watchful glances around. Puzzled, people looked in all directions and muttered, "Why is the fog suddenly this thick? Can't see the path anymore." Okay, this is getting serious. They definitely put a lot of effort into this. Up above, Kim Jinwoo calmly explained, "Looks like the erosion is affecting this area. To think all of this is happening inside a magic barrier," leaving Hebyul to gasp in surprise. "What?" At the same time, a creature with purple tentacles approached, while Kim Jinwoo remained completely unaware as he continued talking. "They definitely know we're coming. A powerful entity is definitely interfering." He solemnly and cautiously warned, "For now, we should fall back." But before he could finish speaking, a tentacle lunged forward to attack. Fortunately, he managed to raise his sword just in time to block right in front of him, instantly turning around to shout a warning. "Everyone fall back. This is an erosion attack." Tentacles lashed out below as well, startling Hebyul and the others into screaming. A sacrificial ritual right in the middle of the battlefield. Urugum looked up and shrieked in shock, "What the hell is this?" At that moment, a massive entity shot up right in front of Hebyul. They instantly coalesced into a monster, readying itself for an attack. At the same time, a decisive sword thrust straight down into its body. The owner of that blade was none other than Kim Jinwoo, who let out a mighty roar while putting all his strength into it, causing his sword to start glowing brightly before frantically turning back to yell, "Is everyone okay?" With Hebyul hesitatingly replying, "Yes, thanks to you, Leon." While Miyu looked up at the sky and screamed, "Hey, wait a minute." Her expression turned fearful as she trembled and spoke, "Something is wrong with the sky." In midair, the sun was instantly swallowed by a dark shadow. Sinister auras began radiating downward from it. Everyone gasped in unison, "A black sun." After that, the sound of a drum began to beat. Waves of goblins began appearing, roaring angrily. They lined up neatly across the mountain peaks in front of Kim Jinwoo's group. Down here, Urugum panicked at the sight and yelled, "Everyone, I think we're actually doomed." While Hebyul blankly echoed, "There are way too many of them." And Tron dropped his jaw in shock. "This is genuinely a war." At that moment, Kim Jinwoo spoke in a solemn tone, "Turns out it was a trap. They've been waiting for us." He scanned his surroundings and cautiously continued, "To set up a trap this massive, they must have known in advance where the subjugation force was departing from and how large its scale was," leading Miyu to slowly figure it out, "meaning there's a traitor inside Eden." A shovel slammed down hard onto the ground. Tia, controlling the goblins, smiled and shouted, "That's never gonna happen." Down below, the warriors began to tremble and stutter, "Look at their numbers. And there's even a frenzied ancient dragon. We're dead for sure." At that moment, Kim Jinwoo raised his hand decisively and declared, "This is all my fault. The heroes aren't ready to face that corrupted dragon on their own yet." He snapped his fingers and made a decision, "I will send the heroes back to Eden." Next, shield icons appeared in front of everyone one by one while the system immediately announced, "Leon is using all his power to send you back to Eden. Do you agree? If you die on the battlefield of demonic souls, you cannot resurrect in Eden within 3 days, and the death penalty increases by 50%. Seeing this, Hebyul anxiously asked back, "Wait, what about you, Leon?" Hearing that, Kim Jinwoo simply smiled and stayed silent. Meanwhile, Hebyul waited anxiously for a response. Standing tall, she declared in a clear voice, "If you take all of us back, Leon will be left all alone. Even if it means death, I want to fight by Leon's side until the very end." Miyu and the others chimed in with fierce cheers. "Well said. Hurry it up, minions. A Valhalla warrior never backs down. Did you really think we'd cower before a bunch of trash? Let's fight." Nearby, Lee Hyun-seong and the rest were no exception, shouting excitedly, "All right, hunters, time to hunt. Tonight's dinner is goblin meat and we're gonna turn you guys into a full set of goblin armor. How's your goblin hunting going over there?" Tronile and the remaining members raised their weapons high, cheering happily, "Let me play a tune in your honor." There's no way we're backing down from that trash. Conversely, Kim Jinwoo asked with genuine concern, heroes, things are going to be way harsher this time around. Are you guys really sure about this? Hebyul gripped her hands tight and answered decisively, of course. With that settled, he raised his sword high and shouted boldly, thank you, everyone. As long as the heroes don't give up, even if this soul is shattered to pieces, I will stand by your sides. At that exact moment, everyone's weapons simultaneously flared with a brilliant radiance. Glancing down, Lee Hyun-seong murmured, is this a buff effect? While Miyu gasped in awe, I can feel an incredible surge of power. Then Kim Jinwoo pointed his sword forward and roared with all his might, for Arsalan. The moment he finished, everyone let out a fierce war cry and charged forward together. On the screen reflecting Kim Jinwoo and everyone rushing into battle, a voice rang out, now the real fight begins. Sitting nearby, Thompson turned to ask, hey Tia, if the heroes choose to retreat, the worst-case scenario is that all of them get corrupted, right? She smiled as she explained, it doesn't matter either way. They can't escape anyway because the storyline is forced to progress, so that part just gets skipped. Looking admiringly, Thompson replied, as expected of Lady Tia. Privately, however, her thoughts took a different turn. In that case, they probably gave up on expecting anything from the heroes, but Jinwoo was right. Those heroes from another world really are fighting the monsters for our sake. A subtle knowing smile touched Tia's lip. And if that's the case, I'll just have to give it everything I've got to wipe them out. Yurugum and his comrades surged ahead, the big man roaring, shield squad advance. He poured all his strength into shoving the goblins back, yelling, charge, shield bash, burn 'em all to ashes. Simultaneously, a system notification popped up. Shield bash, rank E+, charge into an enemy with your shield to deal impact damage and inflict a stun effect on the target hit. Effectiveness scales with the shield's defense stats. Sweeping the monsters away with powerful swings, Yurugum laughed and hollered, now this is what it feels like to use a +5 shield, you bastards. Even so, he failed to block in time as a goblin leaped straight onto his shield. With his guard dropped, the creature immediately began hammering away at him. Around them, the others were slowly getting overwhelmed, desperately shouting reminders to each other, cover each other, hold the formation. Another teammate, distracted for a split second, took a goblin club straight to the head. The monsters swiftly swarmed in to suppress them one by one. From behind, Kim Jinwoo sprinted forward and called out, Yurugum, I'm going over. The moment he spoke, he leaped directly onto the big man's shield as a stepping stone. Using Yurugum's boost, Kim Jinwoo vaulted high up into the air. Letting out a fierce roar, he raised his sword high, preparing to strike. The next second, he plunged straight down into the thick of the goblin horde. Seeing this, the monsters frantically converged to attack. Then a blinding flash of light erupted. A moment later, lifeless goblin corpses lay scattered all across the ground. In the middle of it all, Kim Jinwoo propped himself up on his sword and declared with fierce determination, I will protect the heroes. At the same time, Miyu yelled out resolutely, Leon has shown us what we need to do. Valhalla warriors, move out. With one accord, everyone charged forward to attack the goblins. Gritting her teeth, Miyu swung her axe with blinding speed. She locked onto her target, getting ready to strike. Right ahead of her, a ferocious goblin lunged forward. Unfazed, Miyu glared right back at it with a sharp warning. She went on a rampage, knocking down goblins left and right. But while she was distracted, another creature crept up behind her for a sneak attack. Before it could do anything, two throwing daggers buried themselves in its face, eliciting a painful screech. The one who had landed the precise knife throw was none other than Lee Hyun-seong. Flashing a smile as she zipped past to high-five him, Miyu said, nice hunting. To which Lee Hyun-seong replied cheerfully, for Valhalla. Nearby, Hebyul raised her voice to shout, range squad, get ready. The moment she screamed, fire, all her teammates followed suit without hesitation. Others raised their staves, shouting in unison, fireball, wind blade, magic arrow. Fiery orbs rained down one after another, scorching the goblins' bodies. Even so, the mages were sweating bullets, panicking, there are too many, I'm about to run out of mana. The robed player in the middle turned to ask, did you bring enough potions? While the black-haired player beside him sighed, even if I did, it wouldn't be enough. Standing back and watching in a daze, Tronile thought to himself, everyone's fighting with everything they've got. This is the true heat of a battlefield. Filled with sudden excitement, he pulled out his guitar and declared boldly, in that case, I'll play a battle hymn just for you guys. Then twin currents of fire and water mana materialized simultaneously. Everyone muttered under their breath as the music started playing and mana gathered around him. Wait, playing music restores his stamina and mana. Realizing what was happening, everyone shouted, if you're running low on mana, absorb it from the romantic bard. While Tronile strummed away happily, I'm more than happy to keep playing if my performance gives you strength. If my music can help, I'm more than glad to do it. United as one, all the squads charged forward to lay into the goblins. Hebiel seemed to notice something and offered a gentle reminder. Little by little, we're pushing forward. Watching the situation unfold with a glimmer of hope, she thought, no matter how many goblins there are, at this rate we can actually win. Right at that moment, something came crashing down with a massive thud, sending debris flying in all directions. Panic instantly rippled through everyone. What the hell is that? Something just fell from the sky. That's a giant goblin with an oversized head stepped forward, fiercely wielding a massive hammer, prompting everyone to blurt out in horror, the hero slayer. It slammed the head of its hammer hard into the ground, sending shockwaves rippling outward. The shockwaves washed over the scattered corpses of the fallen goblins nearby. The very next second, the corpses' fingers began to twitch. One by one, they contorted and dragged themselves back to their feet, sending everyone into an absolute frenzy. You've got to be shitting me. The dead goblins are standing back up. Not only had they revived, but they were even stronger, gradually pushing the warriors back as everyone cried out in sheer terror, come on, are you kidding me? How are we supposed to beat this? While the system chimed in with an update, heroes remaining 639. The ferocious goblins went on a wild rampage, cutting down the warriors one by one, heroes remaining 570. Heroes remaining 509. Over on the other side, Kim Jinwoo charged fiercely at the giant goblin and roared, your opponent is me. It tried to turn around, only to be blinded by a dazzling flash of light. Taking advantage of the opening, he swung his sword with all his might, though the monster managed to block it just in time. Following up instantly, he slashed across the giant goblin's body with blinding speed. Its massive frame finally collapsed to the ground, cleaved cleanly in two. Everyone cheered joyfully. Leon defeated the hero slayer. But right then, a strange projectile came flying through the air. It shot straight into the body of the bisected giant goblin. Dark, ominous auras began swirling around its corpse. The goblin bared its sharp, jagged teeth. Its severed halves fused back together completely as it came roaring back to life. Kim Jinwoo gritted his teeth in sheer anger, while Hebiel asked in sheer panic, Leon, what is going on? Pointing up at the giant pillar ahead, he explained, do you see that black pillar? It's gathering mana, continuously summoning and reviving them through a magic circle. Hebiel nodded and asked urgently, how do we stop it? To which he replied with a grave expression, if I'm not mistaken, there's an energy core right in the center. I'll do my absolute best to carve a path so you guys. Hebiel broke into a determined grin. Right, we'll destroy that core. Kim Jinwoo offered a confident smile. Charging forward alongside the others, he shouted, all right, let's move. The goblins roared back and rushed to attack, pouring all his remaining power into his blade. Kim Jinwoo swung forward decisively to carve out a path. He finally managed to close the distance toward the red pillar. Seizing the opening down below, everyone yelled, the way is open, run. Suddenly, a goblin lunged out to attack Hebiel. Without a second thought, Kim Jinwoo leaped in to shield her, shouting, Hebiel. Taking the blow head-on, he gritted his teeth against the pain. Even so, he easily sidestepped another incoming monster. Kim Jinwoo collapsed to his knees in exhaustion, prompting a frantic cry from Hebiel, Leon. He gave a weak, dismissive hand gesture, go. Urugum and the remaining soldiers pushed through, shouting, keep your eyes ahead, just keep running, we'll keep this path open. While the system announced, heroes remaining 192. Panting heavily, the mages cried out in despair, damn it, I'm completely out of mana. Screw it, we're going to die by these goblins anyway, we might as well self-destruct. The group decided to gamble everything on a mana explosion as the counter continued to plummet. Heroes remaining 42. Gritting her teeth, Hebiel forced herself to sprint forward. Glancing at the massive army of goblins blocking the way, she thought, there's still this many. Deciding to take to the air, she backed off and called out to the remaining two, keep going until the end. Pouring every ounce of her remaining strength into her floral bow, she drew back the string. With fierce resolve, she shouted, Spirit Arrow Dance. As the arrows released, they blasted the goblins backward. Having poured her absolute last drop of energy into that final attack, Hebiel smiled tiredly and muttered, we have to destroy that core. As she began to fall, the goblins eagerly rushed forward. Miyu looked back in anguish at the monsters closing in on Hebiel as the system coldly notified, heroes remaining, 2. Lee Hyun-seong kept running, calling out, "Don't stop, we can't let our comrades' sacrifices go to waste." To which Miyu snapped back, "I know, old man." She launched herself into a high leap. Mid-air, Miyu readied her axe while Lee Hyun-seong prepared a sharp arrow down below. Reaching the target, they struck in unison. The core began to fracture down the middle. A split second later, it shattered into a million pieces, prompting Miyu to cheer. "We did it, we destroyed the core." Smiling triumphantly, she added, "It's finally over," when a skeletal hand suddenly emerged from the air above, accompanied by a chilling threat. "Who told you it was over?" Miyu and Lee Hyun-seong froze in wide-eyed shock. A skeletal figure with terrifying red eyes spat out a venomous scold, "Arrogant trash. You won't be leaving here alive." Surveying the devastated battlefield before him, Hasman declared coldly, "The heroes have caused quite enough trouble. Die." Dark magic gathered around his staff as countless magic circles filled the sky. "You pathetic remnants of the light." Terrifying magic poured down onto the battlefield. Seeing the incoming attack, the heroes realized they couldn't block it. Right before the magic struck, Leon stepped forward alone. He raised his sword to take the destructive blow head-on. The explosion completely swallowed his form. As the blinding light slowly faded, the attack had been successfully blocked. But the knight slowly dropped to one knee. The two remaining heroes rushed to his side. "Lord Leon, are you all right?" Hasman looked down at them with utter disdain. "You pathetic insects clinging so desperately to life." Another massive magic circle materialized beneath him. Shortly after, a gigantic troll stepped out from the portal. Pointing his staff at the exhausted heroes, Hasman commanded, "Go, finish them." The giant troll immediately charged straight toward Leon. Despite his heavy injuries, Leon slowly forced himself back to its feet. They had come too far to lose here. Turning back to look at the remaining heroes, he smiled softly. "We didn't come all this way just to lose." The heroes immediately replied in unison, "We will fight by your side until the very end." The troll swung its massive weapon downward. Leon met the crushing blow with his sword, pushing the monster back through sheer iron willpower. Meanwhile, the entire battle was being broadcast live across the world, leaving millions of viewers in absolute disbelief. One viewer slammed a fist down on his desk in rage. "The devs are trying to kill every single player with an impossible event." Clenching his fist with deep regret, he muttered, "I should have bought Soul Link during the first wave instead of doubting it." Right then, a notification popped up on the screen. "Goddess Ella of the event is calling upon future heroes. Are you willing to lend us your strength?" Across the country, countless people received the exact same notification, leaving viewers stunned that even the audience was being allowed to participate. In a crowded subway car, passengers looked at each other after receiving the prompt. "Future heroes, does that mean us?" Without a single second of hesitation, everyone tapped yes. Back on the battlefield, Leon was still locked in combat with the troll. As his sword clashed against the monster, a brilliant beam of light suddenly washed over the entire battlefield. A hero stared in awe. "What is this light?" "It's hurting the troll." Leon smiled. "The goddess has summoned the will of future heroes." The warriors asked in confusion what he meant. Leon explained, "The goddess sacrificed everything to summon heroes from another world. She has witnessed the courage and willpower of all of you. You are the only ones who can stop the erosion. Thanks to you, we can finally dream of a future free from the curse." He gripped his sword tightly. "So, please lend me your strength." The two heroes in the back immediately replied, "We will do whatever it takes." Seeing the battlefield flooded with divine light, Hasman clicked his tongue annoyedly. "So you've managed to summon the goddess's strength. I'll wipe every last one of you out before things get any more annoying." Just as he was about to chant another spell, a calm voice echoed across the battlefield. "I cannot allow that. They are not lives that someone like you has the right to touch." Hasman raised his head to look up at the sky. The goddess. A pillar of divine light descended from the sky. It struck Hasman and blew him down to the ground. He screamed in agony as the divine light burned his immortal body. Floating in midair was a young maiden radiating a brilliant glow. "Heroes, you have fought wonderfully. My name is Eri. I am a servant of the goddess. Your courage has become the guiding light that brought me to this world." Leon immediately knelt down. "Greetings, Saintess." Eri smiled gently. "We can exchange greetings later. The battle is not over yet." Hasman stood up angrily. "I'll kill you. I'll kill everyone." Eri remained calm. "We only managed to land that blow by sheer luck, but just the two of us still aren't enough to defeat him." A female warrior asked confusedly, "What do you mean?" Eri smiled. "Just us alone is impossible, but I won't be fighting alone." She raised both hands up to the sky. The future heroes have answered our call. Dozens, hundreds, and then thousands of massive magic arrays appeared across the battlefield. A system notification popped up. Saintess Eri uses the light of miracle granted by future heroes. Mass resurrection skill activated. Golden light covered the battlefield. Every fallen hero opened their eyes one by one. Hebiel was the first to stand up, then the second, then the third. Before long, the entire battlefield was filled with newly resurrected warriors. The endless army rushed straight toward Hasmon and the troll. Seeing countless heroes come back to life, Leon couldn't help but smile. Meanwhile, inside the magic tower, complete chaos erupted. The mages frantically screamed that the calculations were collapsing. The tower's processing capacity had reached its absolute limit. The illusion magic maintaining the game world began to destabilize. Seeing everyone panicking, Tia immediately lashed her whip hard and continuously issued commands. Connect directly to the magic tower, process the calculations yourself, convert all black smoke into light particles, turn off all unnecessary visual effects. If the tower overloads, connect directly to the mana network and handle it yourself. As the mages hurried to comply, Tia gritted her teeth hard. This campaign consumed much more mana than she had anticipated. At this rate, before the next phase of the plan, the magic tower would need a major upgrade. Returning to the battlefield, the troll was roaring furiously at that moment. It slammed down hard toward the heroes, sending them flying backward. Some were nearly killed on the spot. But right at that moment, Eri clasped her hands together to chant a spell and spoke up to boost their morale. Hold your formation, heroes. Instantly, the heroes received a blessing, and their health bars were fully restored on the spot. Regaining their momentum, they burned with enthusiasm and charged back into battle, driven by Leon and the Saintess as their motivation. They plunged into a fierce, fearless assault against the troll. The mage squad wasn't resting either, continuously casting spells to hurl fireballs toward the troll. The troll was forced onto the defensive under the relentless barrage from the heroes. Seeing this, Hasmon couldn't just stand by and watch. He gathered spheres of dark magic and hurled them toward the battlefield. Seeing that, Eri casually cast a blessing. Instantly, explosions erupted everywhere. Eri shouted that she would hold Hasmon back while everyone else continued the attack, leaving the heroes filled with admiration. Down below, the heroes grew hyped up from receiving the Saintess's blessing. Eri flashed her signature smile to encourage everyone to keep their spirits up. She used her succubus breath ability to induce excitement, sacrificing mental resistance in exchange for overwhelming physical stats. Meanwhile, right beside her, Hallen was panting heavily. He was desperately trying his hardest to mask Eri's demonic aura into holy miracles whenever she cast a spell. He muttered to himself that this was a sacred trial, and as the last surviving pope in this world, I must fulfill my sacred duty. I refuse to fail in the role that destiny has forced upon me. He let out a loud roar. Maximum support accumulation, take that troll down. Miyu leaped forward wielding her battle axe. She delivered a strike right to the center of the troll's head, sending blood splattering everywhere. Its entire body was split in half. Then it crashed down to the ground before everyone's eyes. The troll slowly dissolved into ashes. The hero faction had pulled it off. They enthusiastically celebrated their victory. Hasmon continued his role, cursing the heroes and acting shocked that they had killed the troll. Leon shouted at Hasmon at that moment, telling him he had run out of trump cards. But Hasmon showed no fear, sternly firing back. Do not let arrogance blind you, Leon. I will personally erase the final trace of the royal bloodline from this world. Kim Jinwoo inside Leon's body secretly contacted Hasmon, asking what he thought about boosting the special effects for this final segment. Hasmon excitedly replied, doing it right now. He shouted, warming up now, master, and then launched spheres of dark energy toward the heroes. On this side, Leon raised his sword high and raised his voice. I will borrow everyone's light and gather it here. A brilliant aura enveloped him. He kicked off the ground and charged forward, cutting through the wind. In a split second, Leon closed in on Hasmon and slashed him. They engaged in close-quarters combat in midair. Fierce attacks were unleashed back and forth, but they were evenly matched, neither willing to yield. The heroes down below dropped their jaws in utter amazement watching this combat spectacle. Hasmon decided to end everything right here, gathering powerful magic in his hands. The ground began to shake violently. He hoisted an entire chunk of land high up into the air to use as a weapon. The next second, he hurled the massive chunk of earth downward with all his might. It hurtled swiftly toward Leon. Leon's sword was seen being raised up. A razor-sharp slash was unleashed. That slash shook the entire space, sweeping away everything in its path. It rushed straight toward Hasman without a shred of mercy. Hasman couldn't react in time and stood frozen stiff. Then he managed to block the attack head-on. Sensing death looming close, Hasman wailed pleadingly, "Envoy of the Abyss, grant me salvation." A teleportation portal materialized behind Hasman. He slowly stepped into it, not forgetting to thank the envoy Casey and issue a threat to Leon that things were far from over. On this side, Leon stood watching the tremors slowly fade away. The heroes also stared in blank astonishment. Then the light of the moon gradually emerged. People shouted in joyful cheers that the erosion was disappearing, returning to normal as the corrupted land was purified. Leon spoke up at that moment. "The lick has escaped, but we have reclaimed the territory stolen by the erosion." He smiled and declared, "We won." Everyone cheered wildly in joy as the system screen popped up showing mission completion, plus 20 affinity with Leon, and a massive amount of EXP awarded to the entire subjugation army. Leon muttered to himself as the erosion curse was lifted from this region, allowing even more heroes to enter Arsalan. Main quest triggered. The conspiracy of erosion through the expanding Arsalan Gate, fighting against erosion and uncovering the dark conspiracy lurking in the shadows alongside a new generation of heroes. Following that came an announcement from FS Game calling for a second participation batch from heroes. Everyone scrambled to secure a slot for themselves. On this end, Tia marveled that she never expected the heroes to take down the troll, nodding they were growing at a terrifying speed. Then she opened the notebook containing the script she had prepared for them. Next up was plunging them into crushing despair and shattering their spirits. That was an absolute necessity. Tia's smile grew increasingly unhinged. Now then, who's the next NPC? With the pre-order for Soul Link's second batch, foreigners from all over the world flocked to Korea since the pre-order was exclusive to the country. A globally famous pop star abruptly canceled all schedules and announced a long-term stay in Korea. A globally renowned businessman was spotted heading to Incheon Airport. A legendary investor famous for charging 3 billion won for a single business dinner was even discovered camping outside a hamburger joint opposite the FS Game headquarters. Inside a restaurant, a reporter asked the businessman across from him, "Mr. Ryan Belfort, why are you wasting your time like this?" Responding to that, Ryan answered honestly, "Wasting it? I'm investing my time. My money means nothing to that young man Lee Jinwoo. The only thing I have left to invest is a fraction of my remaining time." The reporter asked with some surprise, "Is talking to him really worth that much?" Ryan's expression grew serious. "The value of a second life cannot be measured with money. FS Game will become the center of a new world order." However, he still hadn't gotten the chance to meet Lee Jinwoo. Cutting to inside the company's conference room, the manager spoke up. "We have 1 hour left before server maintenance begins. Avant Square is packed to the brim, boss. The moment maintenance starts, they won't be able to log in for a whole week. That really proves how much they miss this place." Hearing this, Jinwoo smiled happily. "Everyone has worked extremely hard throughout the early access period. Special rewards will be distributed today. I look forward to continuing to work together with all of you from now on. I'll leave the shutdown procedures to you, manager. I need to head to the research lab." The manager hastily accepted the order. "Yes, boss, leave it to me." At the same time in Avant Square, all the NPCs gathered to bid farewell to the heroes. A female swordsman walked up to greet him. "Ms. Heine, I've reached level 13. Hearing that, Heine let out a sigh. "You still have a long way ahead of you. Keep training. It's pathetic that you still can't execute basic sword techniques accurately at this level." Her reprimand not only failed to upset the other person but actually made her joyful. "Oh my god, I got scolded by Ms. Heine." In another corner, the Saintess was surrounded by many players. "Saintess, can I visit the church next time?" The young maiden grew flustered. The church isn't a place just to come play." "But if that is your wish, hero, I'll be more than happy to." Her breathing grew somewhat hurried as she spoke, her eyes gradually turning into heart shapes, driving the players nearly crazy. "I'm going to miss the Saintess day and night." In another corner, some players were grilling meat. "Try this, Ms. Tia. Taste this piece, Ms. Tia. Have you ever heard of this? 5-pot pork belly? No, it's grilled on a shield." Hearing that, Tia picked up a piece with her chopsticks. "It smells so good, let me try." The moment she tasted the first bite, she couldn't help but smack her lips. Oh my god, I've never tasted anything this good in Avant before. Crispy on the outside, moist and tender on the inside. It's clearly just grilled pork, yet the flavor is this rich. In another corner, Jinwoo had also arrived at the square through the avatar of the hero Leon. The bustling scene took him by surprise. When the remaining players spotted him, they cheered in welcome. Lord Leon is here. The male lead walked toward them and greeted them. Heroes, all of you fought very bravely in the goblin subjugation, but now the time has come for us to part ways temporarily. His words brought the players to the verge of tears. Lord Leon, don't forget about us, please remember us, we'll be back before you even realize it. Leon comforted them, dry those tears, heroes. I told you there wouldn't be a data wipe after early access ended. You're simply returning to your everyday lives for a short period. This isn't a permanent goodbye. How could I ever forget the precious memories we shared together with the heroes? I'll remember everyone's smallest habits. Only upon hearing these words did the players stop crying and start sharing contact info with one another. I sent a friend request. Let's form a party when the game officially launches. I'll reach out the second I log in. Wait, how am I supposed to survive a whole week until then? I don't want to log out. Jinwoo wrapped it up. All right, well then, everyone. I'll be waiting for your return. Right after his words, all the players suddenly vanished from the square as they were forcefully logged out. Tia's group fell into a brief silence. Then she stretched comfortably. Gosh, it's so quiet, it feels kind of strange. Things have always been like this before, though. Haina nodded in agreement. Maybe even we've started getting used to all that noise and bustle. Jinwoo stepped forward to remind everyone, good, now let's get some real rest and sort things out, we still have a lot of preparations to make. Right then, Tiras spoke up. Master, the Magic Tower's resources were running much lower than expected earlier, we need an urgent replenishment. Jinwoo was somewhat surprised by this info. What? We're taking in at least 50,000 new players. Maintaining the current visual effect quality is going to be very tough. Tiras coldly reminded him, the subjugation battle pushed us to our limits. That's why we had to completely cut Lord Hallen's appearances. Jinwoo asked again, we need to resolve this within a week. Is there truly no other way? Tiras offered a solution. Actually, there is one way. If my calculations are correct, we can support up to 150,000 people. We need another mana stone to handle a scale like this. Unless we find a mana stone mine, there's no other way to get that much colossal mana. Before she could even finish, Jinwoo seemed to realize something. Wait, you don't mean Helvi, do you? Tiras immediately admitted. Yes, exactly that. The rest of the residents began objecting. What, Ms. Helvi? If we bring Helvi to Avant Village, everything will be solved. That's true, but Helvi, Malong Hela Violani Ursig, the enemy of the Golden, the calamity that descended to devour the Golden Arsalan, a grand entity that defied the goddess Ella and left behind countless legends across Arsalan. Just mentioning her name would incur a curse and strip away all one's assets. She used to be the ultimate enemy, banned from being destroyed for Arsalan's safety. But now she was merely a dragon wounded by destruction, living in isolation, spreading destruction while losing her former greatness and authority, reduced to an ordinary creature. Helvi was basically a walking magic tower. She possessed even more mana than him, and her processing speed wasn't something a mere human could match. From behind, Hasman chimed in with his input. Avant Village itself needs to be reorganized. With the number of heroes arriving growing day by day, we need a complete overhaul of the existing facilities, but doing that will consume a massive amount of mana. Contrasting with their worries, Tia suddenly let out a few wicked chuckles. Hee hee, instead of renovating everything, why don't we just destroy it all? First, we burn Avant Village to ashes and raise the whole place flat. Then we can let the heroes do quests to rebuild everything afterwards. Both Jinwoo and the others turned to look at Tia with shocked expressions. Tia began showing her unhinged side. Avant Village, filled with such precious memories, turning to ashes right before their eyes. The heroes will definitely cry rivers of tears in despair. The thrill will be even greater if a few villagers in Avant lose their lives. For instance, what if Ms. Haina bites the dust? Or what if I fight to my last breath defending the Adventurers Guild and sacrifice myself? And then we pin all the blame on destruction. The more she spoke, the more excited she got, terrifying even Haina. However, Tiras seemed somewhat agreeable to the idea. We absolutely need Ms. Helvi's help to pull off a script like that. Jinwoo began pondering the proposal. I wonder if she'd agree, but I suppose I should go see her just to be sure. Tiras didn't forget to remind him, and please use Leon's appearance when you go there. Jinwoo startled. What? This body isn't enough to face Helvi. Go find the combat body I prepared in advance for fighting Helvi. Responding to that, Tiras refused with a brilliantly radiant smile. No, you'll definitely be fine. Not long after, Jinwoo arrived before the cave where Helvi resided. She said that, which is why I had to come here looking like Leon. Still, if things get dangerous, I can always run away. And by the way, how many layers of magical barriers are here? From what I can see, they're still heavily reinforced, though they wouldn't be able to stop destruction from pouring in anyway. With that thought, Jinwoo stepped right through the barrier. Inside was a cave with countless crystals growing haphazardly everywhere. The master of this place seemed to have caught the scent of a human stepping inside. Jinwoo forced an awkward smile. Hello, Helvi. Helvi propped herself up, stared at Jinwoo, and snarled. That disgusting mage, you actually dare show your face here. You've got some nerve coming to find me all by yourself. Seeing her grow somewhat angry, Jinwoo hastily reassured her. Hold on, I came here because I have something to say. But Helvi didn't give Jinwoo a chance to speak. Shut your mouth, I'll tear that disgusting body of yours into 100 pieces. As she spoke, she widened her maw and charged straight at Jinwoo. The pressure radiating from that giant dragon body made Jinwoo grit his teeth and curse. Damn it, I knew this would happen. No choice, I'll just have to hit back with equal force. Saying that, Jinwoo gripped his sword hilt tightly. Meanwhile, Helvi roared with murderous intent. That arrogant face today, finally. Mid-sentence, Helvi's eyes suddenly flew wide open, as she laid eyes upon the handsome face of the character Leon. Instantly, all of Helvi's murderous aura completely vanished. She slowly shifted into her human form and spoke gently. You said you had something to say, right? Well, this form makes talking a lot easier. She fully transformed into her human guise as a young black-haired girl. The astonishing shift in attitude left Jinwoo completely dazed, not understanding what was happening. Helvi walked over to him gently and invited him. Consider it an honor. I'll allow you to gaze upon this most beautiful moment of mine. Seeing that she didn't seem to want to fight anymore, Jinwoo also withdrew his sword and didn't forget to compliment her. Impressive, transforming into a human form so perfectly even though you still have that long tail. Hela still said with utmost confidence and arrogance. That's just child's play to a grand existence like me. The male lead asked with a hint of worry, shouldn't you hate humans very much? In response to his words, Hela bluntly shared, I only despise ugly things and most humans are disgusting. So consider it an honor that a human is allowed to speak to me in this form. Alright, follow me, we will talk more inside. As she spoke, she turned around to lead the way while Jinwoo still felt a bit surprised by this attitude. She's gotten a lot more polite. Normally, she wouldn't say more than 2 words before blowing this entire area into tiny fragments. Not long after, the two of them walked down a hallway, and the strange thing was that countless human stone statues stood on both sides. This made Jinwoo somewhat confused. You really have a lot of statues here. Your aesthetic taste is unexpectedly refined. However, as soon as he said that, his eyes widened as if he had just thought of something. Wait, they aren't actually statues, are they? Hela turned back and smiled playfully. If I remember correctly, that man over there was the Pope. Humans are always ambitious for things beyond their station. He sought eternal life, something Ella had never granted. So I gave him a trial, truly remake the hearts of 10 kind-hearted people. That Pope obediently did good deeds, even offering up his precious treasures in his desperate effort. But no one chose to follow him. Who would follow a pope who abandoned his teachings just out of greed to live forever? And so everything he owned became mine. This temple was also reclaimed at that time, along with all the belongings of the heroes of Arsalan. Hearing this, Jinwoo could only sigh inwardly. They turned to stone because they failed the task she gave them, truly worthy of a great dragon confronting Ella. Unaware of Jinwoo's inner thoughts, Hela continued, completely vile creatures, I have spent my whole life just proving that simple truth. Jinwoo smiled and chimed in, that's a very profound story, thank you for sharing. However, that smile made Hela's face flush red and she flusteredly said, what do you even know to speak with such a casual tone? If you have something to say, spit it out. Hearing this, Jinwoo didn't say much and hurriedly sat down. Recently, I awakened as a transcendent and I summoned a hero to save Arsalan from the destruction using that power. But some issues have arisen, so I hope you can lend me a hand. Hela's gaze began to shift and she asked seriously, A hero? Do you think a mere puny hero can save Arsalan? Hey, immortal archmage, you witnessed that horror yourself. When Ella disappeared, countless mythological creatures fell into corruption and became slaves of destruction. Even you couldn't find a way out, having to die thousands or even tens of thousands of times to resist. Yet you truly believe a pathetic hero will save Arsalan. The main character wasn't surprised by her attitude, thinking to himself, she has also slowly withered away in despair, dying in excruciating pain. She had no choice but to cower in fear before the impending hell. Hela is a completely isolated existence even within Arsalan. How long did she have to endure before being swallowed up and corrupted by the destruction? This must feel like it lasts for eternity. Thinking that, he spoke up. You might not realize it, but everything is still going very well so far, so please help me. Seeing his pleading attitude, Hela fell silent. This archmage has always carried that look in his eyes. Even when running away from the destruction pathetically, he still stood facing me, facing the destruction with those very eyes, as if telling me it was just a test he could overcome. That bugs me to no end. Something I will never be able to possess. Perhaps he has kept it inside himself for a long time. I wanted to crush this archmage long before the destruction could do it. I wanted to prove that he was no different from me, that those who keep fighting in despair and those who run away ultimately end up the exact same. So if the plan he is so confident in fails, he will completely collapse in despair, right? I'm only helping to witness that moment, and it has nothing to do with his handsome face. As if convincing herself, Hela coughed a few times. Then Archmage, let's make a bet. It's very simple. I will put your hero through ruthless trials and utter despair to test him. And I will see with my own eyes whether he can overcome it. If I win, you will become my slave. If you win, I will do whatever you ask. On the other side, Jin Woo began to ponder. Let me think. Modifying the plot's upcoming hero trials this way might not actually be a bad idea. I'll need to adjust quite a few things, but Tia will handle it anyway. Besides, she will practically become an automated quest generation machine. Currently, quests are assigned through the Adventurers Guild or NPCs, but I feel they lack variety and quality. Since this is reality and not a game, there are limits to creating quests. No matter how much players praise the ultimate realism, to me it just looks like a patchwork mess. This is what I want to rework before the official release. Over here, Hela confidently said, if your hero dies during the test, then so be it. After all, a weak hero like that could never overcome the destruction. If you still agree to that, before she could finish speaking, Jin Woo agreed immediately. Sounds reasonable. Hela's expression changed and she looked at Jin Woo with a gaze full of incomprehension. What do you mean it sounds reasonable? You're accepting a meaningless trade just after awakening to summon your hero, Jin Woo repeated. That's right. The dragon lady's gaze turned vacant. He actually agreed to that. Then you won't mind if we draw up a contract, right? Of course, go ahead. Jin Woo has no problem with it. Make yourself at home. So the lady strained herself, snapped her fingers to produce a contract and handed it to Jin Woo. Here, read it and sign. Inside the contract, it was written, Great Dragon Hela Violani Ursig, hereinafter referred to as the Great Dragon, and the Immortal Archmage, hereinafter referred to as the Archmage, hereby enter into the following contract. 1. The hero must accept the Great Dragon's test. Surviving the trial process is entirely the responsibility of the Archmage and the hero. 2. The hero must prove their worth through the trial from the Great Dragon. The content of the trial may include extremely absurd elements, as long as it does not exceed the hero's capabilities. 3. If the Great Dragon wins, the Archmage will become the Great Dragon's slave. On the other hand, if the Archmage wins, the Great Dragon must strictly obey the Archmage. This term is permanent and cannot be revoked under any circumstances. 4. The above terms must be executed immediately without any delay. All intentional time-wasting behaviors are strictly prohibited. Jin Woo glanced at the contract for a moment and asked, what if there is more than one hero? Hela didn't think much and agreed. Whether it's 2 or 3, I will put each of them through a trial without exception. Don't even think about hiding some weak hero. Then in her heart she was extremely confident. In the distant past, Ella also summoned heroes. Even when a massive amount of light and power was concentrated, seating more than 3 was impossible. No matter how talented you are, that will definitely be your limit. Jin Woo raised his head and asked further, then I want to clarify the win and loss conditions a bit more. Hela, the trial must last until the hero's will to fight against the destruction completely shatters. As long as there is at least one hero who refuses to give up, I will not consider you to have failed. In return, I will decide all the details as well as the duration of the test. Depending on the actual situation, the number of trials may also increase. When Jinwoo asked back about his own winning conditions, Hela stated, "If I judge that the hero is capable of saving Arsalan through the trial, you win." Jinwoo asked, "So you'll decide everything however you like?" The lady smiled. "If they are heroes worthy of saving Arsalan from destruction, shouldn't they be able to overcome at least that much? Why not drop that arrogant look and back down while you still have a chance? Serve us for a week and I'll cancel this contract for you." However, contrary to her thoughts, the main character signed it without a single shred of hesitation. This caused her to slam the table and shout loudly, "Wait, not a single shred of hesitation." Jinwoo handed the contract back and said, "As long as it can save Arsalan." Although slightly surprised, Hela managed a forced laugh. "Haha, you're going to regret today's decision for the rest of your life. Anyway, the contract and pact have been signed. I will make you bow down to me forever after. I'll be magnanimous and make you my lover. No, my pet, now introduce yourself to me. Haha, alright Archmage, you're about to become my pet. So where is that hero? I'll hand out the math test right now." Jinwoo replied, "They will arrive here within a week." Hela declared, "Then this will be your last week to enjoy your freedom." However, before she could enjoy herself for more than a few sentences, Jinwoo reminded her, "Ah, that's right, there's one thing I should mention in advance. I happen to possess a rather large number of heroes." Over here, Hela was still very confident. "At most it's just 3, right? According to the contract, I will bestow the most horrifying test upon each and every one of them." Jinwoo looked at her with a slightly disdainful gaze. 3, at least you guessed the first digit right. An ominous hunch appeared in Hela's mind. What nonsense are you talking about?" Jinwoo smiled. "It's not 3 people, it's 3,000 people." This statement startled Hela. "What, 3,000? Well, that might sound like a bit much, but it's still completely under my control. It might take a little time, but surely in the end, all of them will just shatter." Her confidence was shattered once more when Jinwoo said, "Truly a powerful great dragon. But in a week, that number will increase to 50,000 people." This number truly made it impossible for Hela to keep her composure anymore. 50,000 people? Are you lying? Are you making things up? Even Ella could only summon 3. How could you possibly? She spoke tremblingly, however Jinwoo just smiled. "I can summon even more if I really try. If things go smoothly and we recover the magic stone mine, 1,000,000 people will be easy too." 1,000,000? Can such a thing actually happen? Hela screamed. Jinwoo waved goodbye. "Anyway, my original goal was millions of people and hundreds of millions would be even better. So see you in a week." Hela could only cry out with her hands stretched forward, filled with regret in her heart. "What on earth have I done?" She hesitantly spoke up. "Hey Archmage, can't we just call it a draw?" Jinwoo turned back to her with a radiant smile. "Even if I wanted to, the contract clearly states it cannot be revoked. This is truly a flawless contract. Truly worthy of the reputation of the great dragon Hela Violani Ursig. Ah, just a reminder, you do know that heroes from other worlds will continue to revive even when they die, right? From now on, you'll have to work very hard to come up with tests, so get some good rest." This kind reminder turned her face pale and sweat poured down like a stream. "I'm totally trapped." That was the moment when the subjugation of the great dragon, something no one had ever accomplished before, succeeded brilliantly. Jinwoo obtained the SSS rank Quest Generation Engine. Jinwoo obtained the SSS rank Future Mana Engine.